For a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal Minister Charlie McConalogue has found himself in hot water after breaking strict guidelines and using public funds to advocate for a yes vote in the referendum. That's according to this morning's Irish Independent. The press release was titled Minister McConalogue advocates yes vote ahead of March 8 referendums. However, it was made unconstitutional to use taxpayers' money to promote only one side in the campaigns. The issue lies as the email came from his government department, whereas it should have been sent out by his political party. The minister's office has been contacted for a response. Meanwhile, the government needs to reconnect with the public and reflect on the referendum defeats at the weekend, according to one of its own MEPs. Fine Gael's Colin Markey says the coalition must take collective responsibility, claiming it was not the fault of one individual. The Midlands North West MEP says government needs to re-evaluate ahead of the local and European elections in the upcoming months.
We have to stand back and reflect on this and perhaps some other issues as well. There's no doubt we need to engage. You always have to stay in touch with the public and you always have to be aware and on the ground. And I think that's something that the longer you're in government, the more you have to focus around. I think we certainly have to, if you like, reevaluate our situation and, I suppose, get out there on the ground and start talking to people.
There's calls for a specific meeting to develop tourism for East Donegal. Councillor Patrick McGowan says previous efforts to promote tourism efforts have fallen by the wayside due to a lack of support. Donegal County Council has agreed to an initial meeting with councillors in the Stranorlar Lifford MD. Councillor McGowan has proposed a border corridor be established.
We can claim to within an hour of any of the main 13, 14 blue flag beaches in Donegal. You can also get to Antrim there. You can go down to any location there, even to the walls of Derry or anything to get there. We're well located. We have the accommodation. This would complement the Wild Atlantic Way to have a kind of a border corridor tourism, with cycling, walking, just general outdoor activities.
2 more names have been confirmed in the hat for the upcoming local elections. Labour's Seamie O'Doohy will contest in the Glenties electoral area. Meanwhile, Jimmy Brogan, who has worked with Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle for the last 10 years, will run as an independent in the Donegal Municipal District. Looking now to weather, today will be mostly cloudy with mist and patches of light rain or drizzle. There'll be a few brighter intervals, highest temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees with light southerly or variable winds. Coastal flooding possible due to unusually high tides. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back again at 10 o'clock.
It's not just that Sarah can't rely on the rains to come this year. It's not just that the only water left could cost her life. It's not just that she has seen all her crops destroyed and she is struggling to feed her little boy. Like thousands of parents living in regions devastated by drought, Sarah is living in fear, and it's not just. This Lent, your help can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1-800-408-408. Trocra. Together for a just world.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 3 minutes past 9 this Monday, the 11th of March 2024. How are you all keeping? I hope you're very well indeed. I hope you had a great weekend and Mother's Day yesterday. So if you are a mother, I hope you were treated like the queen that you are and had a wonderful day. And for those of you like myself who've lost their mother, it can be a tough day. Hopefully you got through that all right, and thinking on to those mothers who are predeceased, and again, a tough day. So if you hopefully everyone had the best day possible is effectively what I'm saying. What a weekend it was too. On Saturday, we got the results of the referendum. No. Donegal delivered the biggest no in the country, which is not an incredible surprise. The extent of the no right across the country, though, perhaps surprised some, though many thought it would pass as a no, if that makes sense. We're going to be talking about that in the first hour of the show. If you want to say why you voted no, get in touch with us. There's an awful lot of jockeying now from people to say that we won this. We convinced people to say no. I'm not saying that's the case. I think rather unfortunately, some people are saying that people voted no because they didn't understand it. I think that's a bit of an insult, to be honest with you. I think people were well informed and there were certain elements of it you simply couldn't understand. That's not down to the electorate. So I don't think that's a fair accusation. But why did you vote vote no. If you want to share that information, WhatsApp and text 086 60 25,000 or call 07491 25,000. Just to remind you, can email as well, comments at highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show and our guests as they join us, either in studio or via video link, then you can watch on X, on Highland Radio, at Highland Radio, on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, and you can also watch on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, which means you can watch us on your smart TV or your Fire Stick as well. We have loads to get through, so we'll have a rattle through the front of the papers and inside some of them today. The Donegal news, the political establishment in Donegal is reeling this morning as supporters of two key constitutional changes faced crushing defeats at the weekend, with the county delivering the biggest no vote in the country. 84% of voters in Donegal rejected the care referendum, while an overwhelming 80% said no in the family referendum. This resounding rejection, the highest in the country, echoes through the corridors of power, with Cavan Monaghan, Laois, Offaly and Mayo closely trailing behind Donegal's results. Out of 123,452 eligible voters in Donegal, only 40% showed up. Among them, 41,030 said no in the care referendum, just 7,834 saying yes. Overwhelming no right across the board there. The Derry News, a move to biennial MOT testing for cars under 10 years old has been proposed to address significant waiting times for test appointments. The SDLP has tabled amendment to a motion scheduled to be heard in the Assembly today, which would test political opinion on the move after former Infrastructure Minister Nicola Mallon issued a call for evidence on the proposal while in government. On to the Nationals now. We'll hop to the Irish Independent, and a Cabinet Minister used public funds to call for a yes vote in the defeated referendums. Agriculture Minister Charlie McConnell broke strict rules banning the unconstitutional use of state resources in referendum campaigns. The McKenna judgment made it unconstitutional for the government to spend taxpayers' money promoting only one side in the campaigns. Yet the Fianna Fáil minister sent out a referendum press statement from his government department last week. Mr McConnell pushed for a yes vote amongst farmers in the closing days of the campaign. Minister McConnell advocates yes vote amongst the farming community ahead of referenda, read the statement sent out from the Department of Agriculture. Such statement should not be sent out by political parties, in this case the Fianna Fáil press office. Ministers were issued with specific guidelines warning them not to use taxpayers' funds in campaigning for the referendum. As you heard from Donna Marie in the newsroom, a statement has been sought, or comment has been sought, as yet not forthcoming. On to the Irish Times. Coalition unease grows after referendum rejections. The emphatic rejection of the referendum on care and family over the weekend has led to a growing nervousness in government about increased voter volatility. With a number of elections on the horizon, the coalition parties were left reeling after the historic loss, with ministers troubled not only by the defeat but by the scale of the no vote in proposals that had the support of almost all political parties in it. Well, and that's where the mistake lies here. In sometimes I just wonder, and it's not just on this issues and others, if you have difficulties with the wording of it, or if you think something is not right, surely you advocate for a no vote or a yes-no or whatever the combination might be. I don't really think it's fair, and I think we're not stupid, that you sort of go, I don't really like the wording of this. And we had it from NGOs as well. I don't really like the wording of this, but we're going to go yes. And then after the fact go, well, the government got it wrong. You know, this is a terrible indictment on the government and what have you. I don't think anyone who campaigned for a yes vote on this referendum is in a position to sort of say it's not our fault. Surely. Whoever campaigned for a yes and didn't understand the mood of the Irish public, it is their fault surely as much as it is the government or whomever is responsible for this. Because I see other parties in government and opposition and, non-government organisations now distancing themselves from it, saying that, the government threw us under the bus. They didn't campaign as hard as we did. I think if you advocated for a yes at any point up until the day, then you can't really all of a sudden now say it's not really your fault. Can you? What do you think? 086 60 25,000. The care referendum, which proposed deleting the reference to a woman's life in the home and a mother's duty in the home and replacing it with a recognition of care with the family, fell after a record 73.9% no vote. There was a 67.69% no vote in the referendum on family, which proposed extending the definition of family to unions based on a durable relationship as well as those based on marriage. Now, we were told in relation to the care referendum that it was sexist language, that this was anti-women and all that kind of stuff. Well, I think a very strong message was sent to say that people believe that a woman's life is wherever she wants it to be it in the home or not, and that the mother does have a very significant role. I think most people would concede that that is quite obviously the case. And maybe this is a pushback against wokeism. Some might see it as well. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and some of you may have been very heavily invested in, because I see an awful lot of it on social media, on Kate from the royal family. She has underwent surgery, hasn't been seen for ages. And a lot of people were speculating if the Princess of Wales' condition is worse than's being said publicly. You know, it became a bit of a conspiracy theory as to what went on. So yesterday they released a picture for Mother's Day. Excuse me, her husband did. Of her with her 3 children. And it all looks perfect, doesn't it? Happy Mother's Day and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that the picture has been heavily doctored to the extent that it might not even be her in the picture at all. Now, this isn't conspiracy theory stuff. Quite clearly, the picture has been very heavily edited. Now, not in terms of making people look more pretty or what have you, but in terms of alignment, i.e. the subjects in the picture aren't as the picture was taken. Personally, it could be that you've seen the ads for that software that moves people's heads around, haven't you? Maybe it's that. But anyway, it has caused it has thrown petrol on the flames of the conspiracy. It was a beautiful Mother's Day image, I read, designed to calm nerves and quell vicious internet speculation about the Princess of Wales's condition. But last night, questions were raised over possible digital manipulation of a new family photograph showing Kate with her 3 children. It's been heavily doctored, by the way, not possible. The image is the first time Kate, 42, has been pictured publicly, officially at least, since undergoing abdominal surgery in January. But in an extraordinary development last night, foreign pictures agencies, including Reuters, AP, Getty and AFP, withdrew the picture, saying it had been digitally manipulated. Now, wait till you see what the pages are saying later in the day and tomorrow, online and physically. They're going to go to town on that, no doubt about it. Did you hear Pope Francis's calls in relation to the war in Ukraine? And there's been a bit of controversy over those calls, because Pope Francis has been criticised for saying Ukraine should have the courage to negotiate an end to the war with Russia. In an interview recorded last month with Swiss broadcaster RSI and partially released yesterday, Francis used the phrase "the courage of the white flag" as he argued that Ukraine, facing a possible defeat, should be open to peace talks brokered by international powers. Specifically asked if Ukraine should agree to peace talks, he said, "I think that the strongest one is the one who looks at the situation, thinks about the people and has the courage of the white flag and negotiates." Now, I can understand why the reference to a white flag has angered some within Ukraine, because they are sort of saying, well, the Pope's quite removed from the whole situation. He should walk a day in our shoes. But I think the majority of people listening, unless I don't have the mood of the people, I think the majority of people listening might say, yes, look, we understand exactly everything that's going on in Ukraine, but at this point, rather than sending tens of thousands of young, predominantly men to their death, perhaps now is the time to say, is there a potential solution here? I think a lot of people listening would be in favour of what the Pope said, perhaps not quite in the way that he said it. Just back to the referendum. This is the Irish Daily Mirror. The government has claimed it was the public's lack of understanding of what the referenda entailed that led to a landslide no vote. The results saw the most overwhelming defeat of a referendum in the history of the state. Yesterday, Minister of State Pippa Hackett said the government failed to put across to the electorate why they should have voted yes in Friday's dual referenda on family and care. Voters overwhelmingly rejected proposed changes to care, with almost 74,000 voting against it, the highest ever no vote percentage in the Irish referendum. Ms Hackett said, "We failed to articulate to the electorate why they should vote yes and yes in the referenda. However, because of the size of the no vote, it is also being seen as a rejection of some of the government's policies, especially regarding immigration and gender issues." And that's why I'm really interested to find out, with as big a sample as possible, did you vote no against the government? Did you vote no because of other things? Did you vote no because you don't understand? Or did you vote no because you had a look at the information that was there, you listened to various voices on it, and you said, I don't want the Constitution changed in this regard? Please let us know. Would you like a piece of Daniel O'Donnell? Well, the contents of his seaside mansion, as it's described in Donegal, are going under the hammer. They include the original contents of his 8-bedroomed former residence, Donegal Shore House, situated at Critch Island. The I Just Want to Dance With You hitmaker lived there with his wife Magella. The clifftop house overlooks the Atlantic Ocean and Kincashla, the home place of the famous musician. And some of the items up for sale include an antique, modern and designer furniture, along with some collectible items, which is quite interesting. Must keep an eye on that. And there's pictures of them, and you can bid on them and all that kind of stuff as well. All right, that was a run through what's making the headlines. Just before we take a break and welcome our first guest on, as you would know, last week, if you were listening, the Kelly's Centre at the Mountaintop Letterkenny, they have widened or extended the range of food from Donnybrook Fair. It's now available at Kelly's Centre Mountaintop, and we had a €100 voucher from Kelly's up for grabs to celebrate this. And the winner, who I didn't get to because I ran out of time, was Michelle Gallina from Ballybofey, who correctly answered Venus. So well done. We'll be in touch with you to get that voucher to you. Okay, we're going to break down the no vote in the referenda after we take our first commercial break of the day. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Despite low temperatures and high energy costs, it's important everyone stays warm and well through the colder months. It's also important to understand that saving energy where possible saves money and helps reduce the impact on our climate. Simple steps can make a big difference, like turning down the thermostat by 1 degree, limiting the use of high-energy appliances like tumble dryers, or ensuring we don't heat rooms that aren't in use. Government is playing its part too, making a range of supports available to help ease the burden on families across the country. For support and advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365, on Facebook, Instagram and on ntmfireplaces.ie.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
We've one planet and it's ours to protect. From repairing, to swapping, to creating and recreating. Learn the changes you can make every Tuesday at 12:30 to live a little greener. Tune into Ours to Protect with me, Donna Marie Doherty.
Ours to Protect is funded by Commission Man with a television licence fee and is a partnership between Highland Radio and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more information.
Okay, Angela, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Not too bad at all, Angela. So you went out Friday, you cast your vote, and you went no. Is it because you didn't understand what was being put to you?
No, it wasn't that. And, I hate to hear that, Greg, because that's been used before, making people out that they're stupid because you voted no. But anyway, no, the reason I voted no, and again, it's nothing against the government or any political party. I would be a carer myself. I am now and have been in the past and probably will be in the future. But I've never heard more talk about carers this last few weeks that before they kind of didn't exist or they didn't really matter. But I'm saying that we have to remember that carers are looking after people. And, you know, I think the people with the disabilities or whatever conditions they have, they've been forgotten. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons I voted no.
Did you feel that the definition of carers was too narrow, too specific?
Well, I think the whole thing about carers, you know, carers do great jobs, and we have people caring in a lot of different ways. You know, you have the family care, you have the care that comes into the house, whatever. But again, I will go back to, you know, people care for it's people that we care for. Do you know what I mean? So there's a bigger picture out there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's just, at the minute, I think there's very little there for carers. People living on their own can't even get carers, Craig. And carers would be maybe 10, 15 minutes in a house and they're rushing to another house. Mm. There's not enough carers, do you know what I mean? And they can't get carers. We'll get people in the hospital who can't get out to their home or wherever because there's no places for them to go either. And there was just that whole thing, Greg, that's one of the reasons I voted no. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing there at the beginning, and I think if we had to change the situation, it would have made the situation worse. Do you know what I mean?
And in relation to the family referendum, Angela?
Yes.
You voted no in that regard as well?
Yes. Well, you know, I wouldn't have any legal training, Greg. Mm-hmm. But again, you know, it was too simple. I think if it had gone through, it was totally impractical. It wouldn't have worked, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's any point in giving people false hope and putting people into situations that could have made things worse for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
So that was kind of one of the reasons that I voted no there as well, Craig.
All right.
Do you know?
Angela, listen, really interesting to get your insight. I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time this morning. Have a lovely day.
That's great, Greg. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Take care. John McAteer is editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune. He's with me now. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Greg. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on. Now, we had a special show on Saturday where we talked through a lot of the issues, but we'll pretend that didn't happen because there's going to be a crossover audience, but a completely new audience as well this morning, given the fact that it's a weekday. You've had a couple of days to reflect on the outcome of the referendum. Why was it such a resounding no?
There's a number of different reasons. Angela made very, very good points there as a carer. Carers have never had a good deal in this country. It's left a lot of the time to the goodness of the hearts of the people who are doing the caring. They're not being properly remunerated or rewarded. Our discussion on Saturday was very well worthwhile. Given that we had very little to go on, we made the very best of it. At least we turned up, unlike the politicians. And unlike the
Talk to me about the significance of that, because that was mentioned a couple of times at the weekend. Effectively, now I wasn't there for an awful lot of the day, but effectively the hall outside those working very hard within it was empty, except for a few on Garda, members of the Garda Síochána and a handful of Aintu supporters and some media. Outside of that, there was no one there. Why would those advocating for yes turn up?
There was a total disconnect with this referendum, and that was right back for about a year. The government just didn't turn up. Leo Varadkar didn't turn up, nor did Michael Martin. Eamon Ryan did a fair bit. But Roger O'Connor probably was left hung out to dry. They didn't communicate that message with it at all. We got a lot of soft focus stuff from Heather Humphreys as the Minister for Social Protection. She done a piece last week. Nobody will lose anything from the changes. March 8 represents an opportunity for us to vote for a caring and changing Ireland, a society in which every family counts, and a constitution that reflects the Ireland of the present, not the past. People are not buying into that stuff. There was no agenda out there to come onto the doorsteps and tell us exactly what they were doing.
But people don't want to reject the families of the past. I mean, they don't want that. They don't want to be. They don't want the role of women. They don't want the role of mothers. They don't want the traditional, in inverted commas, family to be watered down in any way, shape, or form. They don't mind that being maintained, I think, and a lot of people to see maybe more inclusive language. But the public haven't given up on traditional, somewhat conservative values.
Most definitely not. But what was presented to the people. It was billed as a vote or votes with an opportunity to embed inclusivity and equality into a constitution from 1937. 87 years ago, there was no mention of this kind of terminology or this kind of wording. People have moved on an awful lot, and the constitution hasn't moved in accordance with the development of the people and the country. Mm-hmm. And until we do a lot more about the constitution itself, and perhaps we didn't need that constitution or that referendum at all, particularly on the family, given that the Tipperary family, the O'Maras, took the Minister for Social Protection and the Attorney General to the Supreme Court. That was a long-going case. Mm-hmm. where the spouse's partner died 4 years ago. They had been planning to get married. They have 3 adult children in their mid to late teens. Johnny O'Mara went to collect his widower's contribution pension, to be told, you're not entitled to anything, you're not married. And the court, just to cut a long story short, found in his favour, the 7 judges found in his favour. And what you could read into that is like that article of the Constitution will now have to be changed. They indicated that to the Attorney General's office. So that would now, when that is changed, will leave those who are cohabiting, who people live with and who they don't live with.
So are you saying that in that case, the Constitution has to be changed, or do we not now have new interpretation of the meaning of was his exclusion from the widow's pension unconstitutional, or was it sort of illegal in terms of how we interpret the Constitution?
Yeah, what they found was that there was nothing in the article of the Constitution that should have barred him from receiving his payment. So, like what they were saying there, they recommended that a legislative change be effected to give voice to the decision that they made. So, effectively, they were saying to the Attorney General, your interpretation of this is wrong. And that being the case, they recommended that the article be changed in accordance with the ruling. So, like, why were we voting in those circumstances? Because this was the 3rd week of January that. Well,
I'll tease that out with you a little bit more, because we're also asking, John, and you're as interested in this as I am, as to why people voted no. And Patrick, am I correct in saying you never necessarily voted on, the wording of the Constitution? This was more for you to send a strong message to government. Is that how you voted?
That is, Greg. I think the ordinary people, working class people, reading information on leaflets, and solicitors trying to work it out, and Attorney Generals trying to work it out, and Attorney Generals giving advice. We're ordinary people. This vote, as far as I'm concerned, was completely against the government that's there at the minute. You have politics in this country at the minute, a mess with Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and together the same outfit. You have a Taoiseach in charge of the country who took six counts to get him across the line. You have a Green Party there, smallest party in the country, dictating policy in this country now at the minute. Politics is a mess. And unfortunately, the alternative, they went with this referendum. They went with it.
You're talking about Sinn Féin there?
Just taking one. Yeah, of course, yeah. They went with it. Instead of saying, we don't agree with the wording, no, so it's no from us until you put the wording in right. They went with it and then run about yesterday going, but hey, we should have this, we should have that. They should just do their line with, no, we're not going with it. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a vote against this government because people are sick of them.
So, Patrick, if you may have been inclined to vote Sinn Féin in the past, has this put you off voting for them into the future now, given the fact that they went yes, yes?
Well, I'll tell you what it's probably done, Craig. It's probably actually levelled the playing field again of voting for something and voting for a complete outfit that's of no use to this country. So it is, their politics at the minute is not representing this country, not representing people, working class people of this country. Politics at the minute, I don't know what they're doing up there. So but they all seem to go up into a room somewhere and they just come up, they close the door and they just get disconnected.
You know, it's interesting you say that because, you know, you listen to conversations and some of the media coverage of stuff and it feels like they're talking about a different country. And I'm not just talking about the government, even on a national level with media particularly or opposition. It's like they don't really get what life is like on the ground.
No, they're just disconnected and everybody's just completely fit. They were that assured of that vote come through, like, you know, they were just sort of that assured of it. They didn't care about People's Assembly, they didn't care about anything. They went with it, they were that assured. But I can tell you one thing, if there was a right hook yesterday to a whole lot of parties, every one of them included.
And I think it's also interesting. I think it's also interesting in the ditch released leaked advice from the Attorney General, and the response to that from government ministers was like, well, we're going to have to investigate why this was leaked or who leaked it, rather than sort of say, you know, have an introspective look as to why they held it back in the first place. Again, that sort of, if the regular people in the country go, no, the issue isn't here who leaked it, because stuff's leaked all the time. The issue here is well, why did we not have access to this in the run-up to these referenda? That's what stinks a little bit, not that it was leaked.
Yeah, exactly. It was on yesterday. They were trying to, as I say, find somebody that leaked it. I think there was a man on yesterday today in politics, and the Papa Hackett one was trying to say it was a leak. He says, I'll go through it if you want. He says the Attorney General raised maybe 30 or 40 questions about what you've done. He says, and I couldn't do it in this programme. He says the programme wouldn't be long enough. So we haven't seen it. So obviously the Attorney General had given a load of recommendations into it, and they didn't take them on board at all. Yep. But as I say, go back, Greg, the no vote from me is because I'm sick to the teeth looking at a Taoiseach who took 6 counts to get him across the line. His own constituency, I think, came back 63%. So he's not there. He's not representing people. 6 counts to get across the line is not representing people, Greg. That's second or third best. And he's on there now, and he's calling the shots. He's the boy. So it is, and people are sick of it, and people are not stupid. Ordinary people are not stupid.
That's the suggestion that we don't understand is what grates with me perhaps the most in all of this. Patrick, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. No, thanks for input. Obviously, well schooled in the world of politics, John.
Interesting point there. I've talked to about 100 people or more since Saturday afternoon, and indeed all day on Friday out and about the polling stations. And that's the singular thing that is sticking out there, is what Patrick said exactly. People were waiting to have a whack at the government. They're angry. They feel disconnected. They feel disowned. They have no trust in this government. And I mean, that vote has to reflect that.
And do you know what this does, though? This means that it is going to be next year now before we have a general election.
Yeah,
there's just. I would be of the opinion, John, that this puts pay to any talk of an early general election. John, you're going to stick with me for the hour, aren't you? Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll get another cup of coffee.
Get a cup of coffee there. Michael's going to be joining us with the reason as to why he feels people voted no after this break. Stay right where you are and get involved in the conversation, people. 086 60 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074-910-2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Shannon Airport knows precisely what suits a suitcase nicely, so find out concisely at shannonairport.ie.
Affordable parking, easy access, seamless security and dream holiday destinations like Lanzarote, Paris and New York for a hassle-free airport experience for you and your suitcase. Start your dream holiday at shannonairport.ie.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal town.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Donegal County Council would also like to remind landowners and members of the public that under the Wildlife Acts 1976 and 2000, it's an offence to cut, grub, burn or otherwise destroy any vegetation growing on any land not then cultivated between the 1st day of March and the 31st day of August in any year. Landowners are also reminded that the burning of agricultural waste at any time of the year is an offence under the Waste Management Regulations 2022. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Okay, Michael, thanks for waiting. I do appreciate it. Why did the public vote no?
Because the public have seen through the politicians in Ireland. They've seen through their falseness, their self-centeredness and their self-serving attitude towards Irish people. All of the parties, all of the political parties, I'm not just singling out any one particular party, all of the politicians, they have no regard for the people of Ireland whatsoever, and it's been evident this last few years exactly the contempt they hold for the Irish people. Now, the contempt is so bad that Mary Lou McDonald went on television and said, let's get this loud and clear, said that if it was a no vote, that they would rerun it again if they would undo power with different wording. That's total contempt for the Irish people, for the choices that the Irish people made. How can you trust people like that? And they were all on board. I think it was only Aon two and a few senators and a few independent TDs that went with a no. But the one thing they didn't bank on was the Irish people seeing through them at long last. They have no regard for the Irish people whatsoever. The way we've been treated for the last few years it's just unbelievable that these people are in power yet. They're just despicable people. It's unbelievable what they've done to the Irish people. And for Sinn Féin to come out and say that they would rerun it again, supposedly the party of the people. Oh, it's just unbelievable what Mary Lou McDonald said. All you have to do is listen to some of the interviews from the politicians. It's just unbelievable. And this goes right through Irish society. What hasn't been mentioned here is the NGOs who have all supported a yes vote. These are people that are not elected by nobody, making decisions for the people of Ireland.
When we talk about NGOs, you're talking about like the Women's Council and such.
Of course.
Yeah.
The Women's Council, they do not represent the women of Ireland. They represent a self-serving people that all they want is on the gravy train. They're all on the gravy train. Mm-hmm. If you look at what the NGOs in Ireland have got, this is diversifying from the actual question of the no vote, but these are the people that promoted it. They've got, I think, €6 billion in funding. They've got €6 million in funding to promote a yes vote, and it still failed. Them people don't represent us. The politicians definitely don't represent us. And the opposition parties.
Who represents the people, Michael?
The only people that stood up for the truth. The truth of the matter was they wanted to remove the word woman from the Constitution. They do not want the word woman because
it's mother.
Woman or
that's
mother,
okay.
right?
Yeah, that's okay.
They don't want the word mother in the Constitution because there's another agenda at work here, and the people can see it. They can see right through it now. Give the Irish people and give the people that voted no a bit of credit for their for their understanding of exactly what's going on here. They're trying to change the face of Ireland. And that's what they're trying to take the Irishness out of the Irish people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what all these politicians are trying to do.
Okay.
And it's not going to work because the people have wakened up to them. There's a few people, there's one or two parties out there, and they see exactly what's happened. But we've got an opposition.
I think I know the parties you're referring to. But if you look at, say, for instance, if you look at quite a few of their candidates are from different backgrounds, from different cultures. So I presume that's the party you're talking of. But they're to some extent embracing diversity.
No. You see, no, it's nothing to do with diversity. It's being respected as Irish people. It's nothing at all. You know, this is when you have a different opinion to the government parties or the opposition party. Now at this stage, you're automatically branded as racist.
Well, not here, but I take your point. Yeah, I understand what you're.
No, but and a lot of places, I'm not one bit racist. I've travelled all over the world. I've worked with all nationalities and have respected all nationalities, and I'm not one bit racist. But I'm Irish. And I'm proud to be Irish.
Yep, as many of yep, I get you. Michael, listen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Before we go back to John McAteer and we bring in Dr. Joe Kelly into this conversation, I want to go to Emma, who is a carer. What way did you vote, Emma, and why?
I voted no in the care referendum, and I've seen a lot of it's anti-government vote. It's a protest against government. There's absolutely not a protest against anybody. This was a vote that was I vote no for pro-carers and to support people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. They took into no account the damage that... Basically what they said was, we will strive to help. And even the Attorney General's letter said that would be about litigation. We shouldn't have to sue the government to get the supports that are needed.
And when you talk about the word strive, I noted too, and I kind of cringed a little bit, and this is not anti-Leo Varadkar, but he started talking then about the Irish interpretation, and it was actually climb and not strive, and I thought, right, okay, there's a problem here with the word.
I can tell you now. It's not just about the word, and here's the thing. And I said this at a public meeting before the referendum. I said, listen, here's the thing. For people like myself as a carer, and I'm going to go into a bit of a rant here now, we're not too concerned about what I'm referred to, right? And I'm not trying to diminish anybody's stance on wanting to be called a mother or a woman or anything else. It's good enough. I don't mean it like that. But what I mean is, as a carer, most of us are too exhausted to even if they think that that's what keeps me awake at night, lying awake at night, is how I'm referred to in the Constitution, then they're very far removed from what carers go through and what people with disabilities go through. Most carers survive on 3 hours sleep a night, and if we're lucky, we get 4 hours sleep on a good night. Well, the questions that keep me up at night are not to whether somebody I don't know and have never met, what they refer to me. What I'm concerned about is the fact that one of my children is waiting 5 years to see a consultant. What I care about is that both of my children will have aged out before they ever seen the National Children's Hospital because it's 5 years too late. It was supposed to open in 2020. Now it'll be 2025, and it's way over budget. I care about access to CDNT departments and the vacancies that are in the CDNT departments, like the 62% in Donegal vacancies in certain parts of Donegal anyway. And then I care if we qualify for CDNT departments or if we don't. And if we don't qualify for CDNT, like a lot of us don't, we get sent back to primary care. And their resources are not inexhaustible. So what they do is they'll give you a block of therapy and they teach you how to continue this therapy at home. Be that your physio, your occupational therapy, your speech and language therapy, your dietitians, your behavioural therapy, all of these things. Then we worry about whether we can get an NEPS assessment, because most schools only get 2 NEPS assessments a year. And most of these schools have an excess of 500 students. And then if another child joins the school and has a greater need, our child gets pushed further down the waiting list, right? And that's not to take away from the child who desperately needs the assessment, but we worry about our child, right? And then we worry if we get the NEPS assessment and we're told that our child needs a space in the ASD unit, like we were told years ago, is there space in the ASD unit? And more often than not, there isn't. So we have to plod on through helping our child manage a mainstream school that they can't cope with.
Yes.
But the biggest question that keeps us awake at night is who's going to carry the torch after us?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to lift up that torch, and who's going to carry on for us? What is going to be in place for our child, who, whether they be 30 or 40 when our day comes, because nobody can live forever, who is going to look after our child? These are the things that keep us awake at night. So the thing about carers is we're not just carers. We're carers, we're speech and language therapists, we're physiotherapists, we're occupational therapists, we're our own triage nurses deciding whether we need to go to the hospital tonight or whether it can wait to see if we can get into our GP in the morning, because do we need to expose the child to infection by sitting in A&E for hours?
Yes.
These are the questions that keep carers awake at night. And to suggest that we voted no because we didn't understand, or as some kind of flip it to the government, is blatantly wrong and quite frankly insulting.
All right, Emma, powerful. Okay, all right, thank you so very much indeed. As I say, Emma put it perfectly at the end there. Don't tell me people didn't understand what they were voting on. Right, okay. We are going to take a short break, if that's okay, from this conversation, and I'm asking Joe and John to stay where they are, Brendan also to stay where he is. We do have to go into a commercial break, but that will give us a good few minutes thereafter to discuss more on this. But I think we can say good morning now to Henry McKean, journalist with News Talk in Hollywood. Good morning, Henry.
Morning, this is LA calling. We're live in Hollywood. How are you?
Very, very good, Henry. And we have a short window to get in touch with you, but we just wanted to recognise the remarkable achievement of Cillian Murphy. He won an Oscar, quite rightly so. Delighted also to see Robert Downey Jr. Also pick up an Oscar for his role in Oppenheimer. What's the buzz over there? Is Ireland taking over? Are you painting the town green?
There is. I was wearing a green tie earlier. It's what time is it? It's nearly 3 a.m. here. So those after parties are still going on. And you're right, Robert Downey Jr. was a very special moment because, you know, he talked about how his veterinary wife saved him and he was a sick puppy and he's had a second chance. But the big story is Cillian Murphy becoming the first Irish-born man to win a Best Actor at the Oscars. Oppenheimer took 7 Academy Awards. Poor Things, produced by Dublin-based Element Pictures on O'Connell Street, won 4 with Emma Stone winning Best Actress. So a brilliant night and just fantastic. And Cillian Murphy's been very giving. He's quite a shy guy. He doesn't like all the glitz and the glam. He just wants to make movies, head back to Cork or Monkstown and just chill out with his family. But he was a gentleman. I met him earlier on in the week, and I got to speak to him earlier on at the press conference, and he took my question that was coming in remotely, and he got quite confused because he thought it was the voice of God coming from the ceiling. And I just said to him, how does it feel to be the first Irish-born man to win? And he said, well, he kind of gave an answer about how we need to fund and we need to help young actors a little bit more. He talked about that. And he also, he laughed because I said to him, what about, playing that Rebel song? Because at the BAFTAs, I asked him something, a question around that. And he said, maybe it's time that I sing a Rebel song. But there was no Rebel song sung at the Oscars. But I did think that Ryan Gosling was brilliant. He got up there and sang a number from Barbie. That was, for me, with Slash from Guns N' Roses, I thought that was pretty good as well. So there were lots of great moments. And it was I got the impression, quite a calm, relaxed atmosphere, really chilled out. There was no tension in the air. It's a number of years since they accidentally called out the wrong winner, and also that slap, that Will Smith slap, put everyone on edge. But this time round, really chilled out and magic in the air, real magic night and history. It was an historic win for Ireland. Okay. Like you could say, it's like Italia 90.
You could indeed. Henry, live from LA, thank you so very much for dipping in. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Henry McKean there talking to us. He's a journalist with News Talk, talking to us from Hollywood for the Oscars. Okay, back to the referenda after this quick break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The Euro Millions Mega Draw on Friday, March 15th is for a guaranteed jackpot of €130 million. Ireland's daydream numbers are through the roof. €130 million? Time to dream big.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Revolutionise your style at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Open 7 days, 2 floors of menswear featuring your favourite brands. Shop in store or online at evolveclothing.com. Your ultimate menswear superstore.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
It's Cheltenham Week in the Star. First up, your free 40-page preview magazine to get you in the winning mood. We talk to record-breaking Willie Mullins on the brink of a century of Cheltenham Festival winners. Derek Foley meets Shark Hanlon and his miracle horse Hewig as they go for gold. Rory DeLargy points punters towards winners, and we bring you Brian Flanagan's best bets of the week, plus lots more. All in your free Cheltenham preview magazine today, only in the Irish Daily Star.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. You don't visit Liverpool for the weather, but it does rain gulls at Anfield. Fly to Liverpool daily with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, mostly cloudy with mist and patches of light rain or drizzle. There'll be a few brighter intervals, highest temperatures of 7 to 8 degrees. Brendan Byrne, thank you for joining us. I mentioned in passing that, this might put pay to an early general election. You're not of that view, and it's a view we always like to hear. Good morning, Brendan.
Good morning. No, I'm not of that view. When you do an analysis of what really happened, you had Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, the government parties, of course, and Sinn Féin all advocating the strong yes vote. They got a walloping, as the paper said yesterday, but I don't think that's going to shape their opinion in terms of when the next general election is to take place. It has to take place before the 22nd of March, 2025, next year. The Taoiseach, Rial Varadkar, has already said he's not going to have a winter election. And if you looked at the trajectory of the polls over the last 3 months, the Sinn Féin vote was tightening.
Been quite good for the governments.
And
so when do you think the election might happen then, Brendan?
I've always had an opinion that the election will be before the middle of October this year.
Okay.
And I think it'll be a strategic time for them to go. It'll be very much based on what the opinion polls are saying at the time. I think the current government are eyeing up or cozying up to the Social Democrats to be their third leg in the stool for the next government. So if the numbers are there or thereabouts for those three parties, they'll go to the country. But I do not see this government lasting beyond Christmas of this year.
Right, Brendan, thank you very much indeed for that, for accepting our invite to come on. Right, Joe Kelly, Dr. Joe Kelly, your synopsis of what went on. You've had a couple of days to fully digest it now. Sorry, you'll have to unmute. I muted you. It's not your fault, you see. I was afraid you might start talking about the Oscars, so I hit mute.
Greg, I always enjoy coming on to your show, and while we may not agree on everything, we have respect for each other and we don't pull cheap shots on each other. And you've always, Greg, spoken out about the disconnect, and you've challenged me and politicians and others when they come on your show, and politicians don't like to be challenged. And that's why they're hiding today. They don't like to be asked questions that they don't want to answer. And you've always challenged the people and your listeners to think and to get smart. And Donegal got very smart last Saturday when we gave an 84% no. And look, I don't want to be drawing people into maybe the reasons why I voted no. And I listened to Emma and to listen to Michael and others, and I agree with all of that. This was a gift from the Irish government to the people of Ireland. This is the way I see it. People are sick and tired of the agenda. We're not allowed to speak. We're not allowed to talk about immigration, transgenderism, or anything that goes against the agenda of this government. And if we do, we're hammered. All parties other than Aintu asked us for a yes. Nearly all NGOs asked us for a yes. RTE, yes. And thank God for Highland Radio and for independent radio where we are allowed to speak and voice our opinion. But what happened on Saturday or on Friday, people went in silence and in security, knowing that they could vote whatever way they wanted. And they voted in silence, but their vote was a roar. And Leo Varadkar said, after the last two referenda, this was a political landslide.
So do you think this is a pushback against wokeism? I suppose I'm using that phrase. It's not what I'm terribly comfortable with, but it is kind of a catch-all, a move towards a more liberal society.
Well, here, let's be very clear here. And I mean, people may not agree with Joe Kelly and all his views, but there's one thing that I'm man enough and liberal enough to accept. This no vote encompassed all the people that probably voted for abortion and voted for gay marriage. This encompassed, this no, Ireland's no, was a together for no against what they see as the government telling lies and trying to hijack us. And just let me make it very clear. Leo Varadkar talked about the political landslide, the last two referendums. This is the biggest no vote to any referendum given.
For sure, and I see how you see that. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
The point being this is a political reset. This is a political app. And Brenton Burns talking about a government and forming. There is no TD seat safe the length and breadth of this country this morning. We have to get a grip with the reality of the political landscape we are in. If Michael McDowell considers forming a party, he could very well be the next Taoiseach. Over 1 million people, more votes. Fianna Fáil got, in the last election, got 485,000 votes, first preference votes dialed. Fine Gael got 455,000. More people than Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael and Sinn Féin.
I think the public are capable of voting no in this, but still voting yes for Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil. I don't think this means that all of a sudden no one's going to vote for them. But I take your point. And also too, though, Joe, just when you're sort of using the no vote, well, perhaps, but when you're using a no vote as a catch-all, right, I would have an issue if it was a yes, and a yes campaigner come on and said, now this gives us permission to go in a certain way because it's a yes to a load of different things. But I respect your view and you've made it there. John, do you see it? Yes, go ahead, Joe.
No, my point, and I've been on your show before. I talked to you about the image, and I'm a historian. I talked to you before about wealthy people being buried in the churches.
Yes.
And eventually, and the smell would come up through the boards after their bodies would decompose, and people would go into the church to pray and say, "What's that?" And they say, "That's the smell. That's the stinking rich." That's where the phrase "stinking rich" from it. Look. Yesterday on the vote, people know that there's a stink and our politicians are lying to us. Okay. Every Donegal TD was asking for a yes, yet the people of Donegal voted no. They get the smell, they get the stink. For whatever that means, I don't know, Greg, and I'm not trying to claim it, but there's a smell and people aren't going to put up with it.
John, in a minute, do you go as far as Joe does in his assessment of what this vote means and what the ripple effect from it will be?
Well, it's a very honest held opinion by Joe, and he's always going to shoot from the hip anyway, and fair play to you, Joe, for doing that. All of the callers we've had on this morning have all spoken from the heart and with a genuine concern and a genuine belief that what's happening is all wrong. This idea of gender stereotyping people, mothers and women, and we've heard this has buried that. This woke generation that you refer to, the vote to me on Friday was a total rejection of the government and its behaviour and its policies for the past 4 years. I don't think, I've been writing editorials and opinion pieces all weekend about that there, about in the land of the lame duck excuse. the bishops put their oars in, and their contribution was really exciting.
Someone says they've lost respect for you after you referenced on Saturday the Catholic Church putting their oars.
Well, I mean, when you look
I have to break for the news. Unfortunately, listen, I think we quite comfortably could go another 2 hours on this. Joe, thank you for your contribution. I hope you got all your points across, albeit fleeting. Thanks, Joe. Take care. All right, bye-bye, Joe. And also, John McAteer, as always, thank you for your time and patience and sitting on the call with us there, okay? The news is going to be a little bit late as we head for a break. Back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
There's more furniture than ever on display in the extended showroom at McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny. More sofas and suites, more bedroom and dining room furniture, and much more occasional furniture. If you're adding to your home or making some changes, call into McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny, or visit mcginleysfurniture.com.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Letterkenny Show Society annual Pedigree Bull Sale will be held in Reform Mart on Tuesday 12th of March at 6:30pm. With 81 Pedigree Bulls on offer, consisting of 53 Charlies, 11 Limousin, 11 Angus and 6 Hereford. All stock are eligible for export to Northern Ireland. Online bidding available at martbids.ie. That's this Tuesday at Reform Mart.
Getting married? Evolve Clothing at Letterkenny Retail Park is your destination. Book today for expert advice, a private wedding room and great value. Make your wedding day unforgettable with Evolve Clothing.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, 2 minutes past 10. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Minister Charlie McConalogue is facing questions about whether he broke strict guidelines about using public funds to advocate for a yes-yes vote in the weekend's referendums. This morning's Irish Independent reports a press release under the title Minister McConalogue advocates yes-yes came from his government department, which would be contrary to the McKenna judgment. Such releases should come through a minister's political party, in this case the Fianna Fáil press office. The minister quotes Minister McConalogue, the paper, quotes Minister McConalogue's special advisor as saying that they drafted and sent out the release and the minister wasn't aware of it. His office has been contacted for a response. The government needs to reconnect with the public and reflect on the referendum defeats at the weekend, according to one of Fine Gael's MEPs. Midlands Northwest Representative Colin Markey says the coalition must take collective responsibility, saying it wasn't the fault of one individual. Mr Markey says the government must reevaluate ahead of the local and European elections in early June.
We have to stand back and reflect on this and perhaps some other issues as well. There's no doubt we need to engage. You always have to stay in touch with the public and you always have to be aware and on the ground. And I think that's something that the longer you're in government, the more you have to focus around. I think we certainly have to, if you like, reevaluate our situation and, I suppose, get out there on the ground and start talking to people.
There are calls for a meeting to take place to develop a targeted and specific tourism plan for East Donegal. Councillor Patrick McGowan says previous efforts to promote tourism in the area have fallen by the wayside due to a lack of support. Donegal County Council has agreed to an initial meeting with councillors in the Lifford-Strawnor Municipal District. Councillor McGowan believes a border corridor should be established.
We can claim be within an hour of any of the main 13, 14 blue flag beaches in Donegal. We can also get to Antrim there. You can go around to any location there, even to the walls of Derry or anything to get there. We're well located. We have the accommodation. This would complement the Wild Atlantic Way to have a kind of a border corridor tourism, with cycling, walking, just general outdoor activities.
A man's been charged over a crash in which 2 teenagers were killed in County Monaghan last year. 16-year-old Slava Mohammed and 17-year-old Kia McCann were on their way to a school debs when the incident happened at Legan Kelly outside Clones. A man in his 60s has been charged and is due before Monaghan District Court today. A local councillor in Castlefin is urging the community to get behind the Brennan family. Councillor Gary Doherty was speaking following the loss of the family-owned pub after a fire yesterday. Emergency services fought to control the blaze that broke out on the Diamond. Councillor Doherty says the business and the family are well known to all in Castlefin.
Everybody's sympathies and concern is with the Brennan family, who, no matter what is going on in the town, they were always supportive of, football clubs and voluntary organisations, and any time that there was any assistance they could give in regards to sponsorship or helping out, they were always there. And now I think it's time for the community to be there for them and to return that support and to be there for the Brennan family in whatever way we can.
2 more names have been confirmed for the upcoming local elections. Labour's Shemi Odui will contest in the Glenties electoral area. Meanwhile, Jimmy Brogan, who's worked for Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle for the past 10 years, will run as an independent in the Donegal Municipal District. Andy's supermarket in Ballybofey is set to reopen after being forced to close last month due to a major electrical fault. Fire services attended at the time of the incident almost a month ago. A spokesperson has thanked the ESB, local tradespeople and customers for their support during the closure. It's now hoped that they'll reopen their doors on the 28th of March. A number of hotels in Dublin are charging up to 4 times the normal price to stay in the capital this St Patrick's weekend. Around 220,000 people are expected to arrive through Dublin Airport for the weekend, according to Dublin Airport Authority figures. However, it's been reported some hotels and hostels are charging a lot more. The Irish rugby team are also playing in Dublin on Saturday. Kerry hotel owner and councillor Niall O'Callaghan says this will impact on the reputation of every hotel in Ireland.
It just feeds more of this culture of, we got great value over in Spain. Look at the prices here. I know Killarney is a great place to come. I know you're going to get great value here. And it's very hard to keep fighting that argument when things like these happen. And you'd hope that people would understand, how are we going to get the VAT rate back down to 9% when these things happen?
Weather forecast mostly cloudy with mits and patches of light rain or drizzle. Some brighter intervals with top temperatures 7 or 8 degrees Celsius, light southerly or variable winds. Coastal flooding possible as a result of unusually high tides. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with more at 11 o'clock. In the interim, of course, check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Monday morning, March 11th. The death has taken place of Paddy Kerr, Kilnamara, Cross Connell, Clonmany. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest today at 2 p.m, going to St Columkill Village Oratory, Clonmany to repose. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed. The death has taken place of Greta Gillespie, Ballyboe Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 p.m. for 2 p.m. service of Thanksgiving in St Ninian's Church Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu to Brindley Manor Nursing Home and St Ninian's Church, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Kathleen Blee Nee Conwell, 89 Murlock Road, Glenmornan, reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Glenmornan at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. tonight. The death has occurred of Marjorie Kelly, ní McElhinney, Churchtown, Carndonagh. Marjorie's remains are reposing at the family home, where you're welcome to pay your respects. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchmedia.tv. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to ICU Eltnagelvin Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Charlie Boyle, Kilmore Church Hill. Charlie's remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there today for Requiem Mass in St Columkille's Church, Glendown at 12 noon, followed by interment in Garden Cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. The death has taken place of Peter Shovelin, Sligo, formerly Kilrain, Glenties. Remains are reposing at his residence in Kilrain. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30 to St Connell's Church, Glenties, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Kilrain Graveyard. The death has occurred of baby Katie Fullerton, Magan Avenue, Buncrana, County Donegal. Funeral is currently en route from her grandparents' home, Patrick and Patricia Grant, 4 Castle Park, Buncrana, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. How are you all doing out there? We do really appreciate your company. Good morning if you're just after joining us. We had a lot of comments coming in over the course of the morning so far, so we'll catch up on some of those before we get on to some of the other business of the day. A caller says, and I just referenced this before 10, I used to have respect for John's opinions, but I take great issue with the phrase he used on Saturday's show, especially when the Catholic Church struck its oars in. That's his exact words because I wrote it down at the time. He blamed a Catholic constitution for Catholic people, a cheap shot at Christian principles, John. Morning, Greg. Can you get a Donegal TD on and ask them why not one of them voted to vote with the people? We are not all in this together, it seems, unless you do as we say. Who exactly do the Women Council represent, asks a listener. Are they any stay-at-home mothers, single parents, low-income or traveller women on the council? No. Also, most of the leaders of the political parties have gone to private schools, so they are all in a little bubble of groupthink, which has nothing in common with us, the people. Morning, I absolutely agree 100% with Michael, who was on the show in the first hour. Those politicians, he says, or they say, are a disgrace, every last one of them. Another, I really don't understand why the government is surprised at results. The people who knew what this was about went out and voted no. Hi, Greg. Would agree with Patrick 100%. The people of Donegal are disgusted with this government, they say. Another, hope that the lady who got her appointment in the High Court for April to challenge the government on losing her money wins in every care, get their rights. Another, Sinn Féin took the worst hit than government parties. If they went with no, they would be heroes. Mary Lou would be heading for the Oval Office. They must be hurting this morning. Another here, think about it. The government is funding the NGOs to lobby them to make changes to the ordinary Irish person. That is the stupidity manifested. That money could be well spent elsewhere. People don't want changes that minority wants. I just think because NGOs are funded, I think they would strongly reject. They would strongly reject that they are instructed or told which way to vote. But that seems to be a lot of people's opinions out there. That man is correct. Sinn Féin are toxic too. Mary Lou has a cheek threatening to rerun. Time for her to go, says a listener. I had to laugh when I heard the interview yesterday. The Women's Council, who can't define woman, said the people didn't go far enough. They do not represent us and should be disbanded. My heart My heart goes out to that mammy. Fair play. She made it crystal clear. Yep, that was Emma who spoke superbly in the first hour. Anti-government vote. No way. Intelligent people who read the words that the government tried to put in our constitution and knew it was all wrong. Do not insult our intelligence by saying we voted no because we do not like the government. As for the women's groups, that man said it all. They need to be disbanded. Another, I hope the politicians are listening to radio stations throughout the country this morning. They might learn something. And by the way, I see the Buncrana sign down in the Show Green in Buncrana. What a waste of good money. Needs to be looked into how this happened. Just more glorification for local councillors. Disgrace, total disgrace. 2 for the price of 1 there. Let me see. Hi, Greg. Your guest mentioned the O'Mara case and referred to a change to the Constitution being required. This is not the case. The court recognised that a couple who cohabit for 5 years or more are deemed as common law married and ordinarily acquire the rights that a marriage affords in accordance with the Constitution. That's what I kind of questioned, John, at the time. I would have thought that, but I think maybe there was a recommendation to change the Constitution, whether it does or not. It's 5 years cohabiting. I think it's 2 if there's a shared child. Morning, Greg. I listened to the voices of Michael McDougall and Dr. Joe Kelly voicing their concerns over both referendums and made the decision to vote no to both. I fully agree with everything your last caller Patrick said on the main parties having lost touch with the ordinary people. The alternative party, Sinn Féin, have let the people down too by calling for a yes vote. Thank you. So many more, which we will get through as this morning wears on. There's just one I wanted to reference here. Greg, on Thursday's show, you wouldn't read out the comments because they were all for no, and the moratorium wasn't in the media, all for the government. No, that genuinely is not the case. We are compelled and bound to as much as is possible in the round. Okay, it doesn't have to be right in the moment, but certainly in the round, we are compelled to represent a balanced point of view. Now, if I were to read 50 no comments and no yeses, that could be easily perceived and get me into quite a bit of trouble and complaints and what have you as being over-platforming one side than the other. But for an example, too, just to flip it on the other side, say yes had a group of individuals had organised to text the station in en masse. Let's just say, for an example, they said, right, we need to contact every radio station, and we received 300 or 400 yes comments. And I sat here and I read 50 yes comments is comments with no no's. I think if the shoe was flipped onto the other foot, you would say, well, why is he reading all yes comments and not no comments? Do you get me? So we had equal space for both yes and no. It was very, very clear which way this county was going to go. In any case, I knew very, very quickly that we would go no, and the country would as well. But that's what that comment. So I'm glad you picked me up on it, but that's what that was in relation to. I had a pile of no's, and it was just ahead of the referendum, and I wouldn't necessarily have had the opportunity to try and strike more of a balance. I voted yes as a protest against Mr. Varadkar, says a listener. I took on board what Michael McDougall kept saying. He won it for the no's. Michael for president. That comes in from Kathleen. Let me see. Read that one. And I just want to read one more complimenting Emma, because it's not easy to come on and speak about national issues, but to frame it in your own personal experiences. Congratulations, Emma, you spoke so well. I'm almost in tears listening to you. How dare the government put you through this along with many others? I voted no as I wasn't sure what the care referendum meant. Now, after listening to Emma, I'm so glad that I did. Well done, Emma, for speaking so clearly and also so concisely. If you've texted in, please don't think that that's the end of it. We will catch up on those as the morning wears on, but we've an awful lot of business to get through. So stay right where you are here on the 9 till noon show.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 11th of March. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S11. It's game number 11. The numbers are 14, 6, 73, 22, 54, 2, 50, 60, 49, and finally 64. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
It's time to visit Ireland's newest Lexus dealership, Lexus Letterkenny. With 50 years of experience, you can trust us in this new era of electrification. Experience our all-electrified range, including the stunning ES Hybrid Saloon and our award-winning range of plug-in hybrid SUVs. And view our finance offers, including the all-new LBX. Start your 2-for-1 journey with Lexus Letterkenny Port Road. Lexus. Experience amazing.
For a great breakfast, pull into Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny. Not just a great breakfast, but mouth-watering burgers, delicious chicken, succulent steaks, and so much more. For kids, it's not just about pancakes, but a full children's menu to choose from. First Communion and Confirmation celebrations also catered for. Great food and great service every time. A Kelly's Diner, Letterkenny, winner of Best Family Dining at the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Okie doke, the comments lines really on fire today. Thank you so much for choosing to listen to us and to share your important views with us as well. We'll return to that in a moment. I want to chat now, though, to Independent Councillor Michael McBride. Good morning, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me on.
It's good to have you with us. Okay, what is the current status of the Kilmacrennan and Churchill primary care centres? Are they closed, and how long have they been closed, if so?
Yes, Greg, they're both closed, and maybe if I could take them individually. First of all, I'll take the centre in Churchill. The centre in Churchill closed when we got COVID, and it has remained closed ever since. And I know Councillor Donald Kelly had, raised the issue in the past as well, and but it remains closed. And in recent weeks, we got notice that the primary care centre in Kilmacrennan was closing. It's been there since the 1950s. Very busy centre, and as most we all know that community is continuing to grow. It was closed without any notification or any public consultation. And all of a sudden, the service users got letters out to say that there would now be a bus coming out to collect them. They would make an appointment the day before and bring them into Milford. Now, that bus, Greg, would have to leave Kilmacrennan and would start collecting people at 9 a.m. and the bus would return at 1 a.m. Now, whenever you think about the types of people that are using the centres and the health problems they have, I think it's absolutely ridiculous to expect anybody to spend maybe 5 hours of their day risking cross-contamination. People with maybe getting their bloods done for cancers and all types of stuff like this. And the local community are not happy with it. I've been approached both in the Churchill and the Kilmacrennan area, and I've been asked to raise this issue to try and have them reopened on behalf of the local community. So that's where we're at. Currently, we have a petition, an online petition, and we've also got sheets and a number of locations in Termon and the Churchill areas. I think in Termon, they're in Mandy Sweeney's shop, the Grieving, and the Lagoon shop, Kilmacrennan. They're in the post office, Northwest Aluminium, and the Millbridge shop. And at Churchill, we've got the Churchill and Glenswolly areas. We have them in Wilkins Bar, we have them in Kiernan's and New Mills and McFadden's and Brina. And there seems to be a lot of people signing the petitions because we have had phone calls looking for more sheets out to these shops. So that's currently where it's at.
The solution for many is not actually a solution at all. On the face of it, if you're sitting in an office in Dublin or elsewhere, you'll say, right, we'll have a shuttle bus and we'll take them in from Kilmacrennan and Churchill and the surrounding areas into Milford. But as you say, that's an arduous journey for some. I think you make an interesting point about cross-contamination, given the fact that was the reason the Churchill Primary Care Centre closed to begin with, presumably to stop cross-contamination with COVID. But again, it always, for me, it comes back to those who actually opt not to go for treatment or care because they just don't want to undertake this 5-hour bus trip for whatever, not 5-hour bus trip, but it is effectively a round trip with a stop in Milford, that they will just go, nah, not doing that. It's too much of a handling, or they might have issues in actually using the service itself, because we are talking primarily about older people who might have mobility issues and what have you.
That's absolutely correct, Greg. And I think, whenever you've got a local centre in either Churchill or Kilmacrennan, a lot of their family, some people can drive themselves, obviously, to their appointments, but many people, their family can drop them off. They can go to the shop, do about some of their business, then they get a call to come and collect me again, get home. It's kind of all turned around in the minimum amount of time. But the problem is, this seems to be a part of the government's agenda, and that's contributing to the shutdown of rural Ireland. We can look at like the Garda stations, the post offices, and now it's the primary care centres. And, I think the people out there are absolutely sick of it. And I think it's time for us to stand up as a community, as other communities need to stand up and say, no, we've had enough of this. We want our local services and our local villages. And Kilmacrennan and Churchill are both thriving communities. They're not in decline, and there's no reason that these centres were closed down without any public consultation. And if there was public consultation, I can guarantee you the result of it.
Yeah, but that's why we don't do public consultation.
That's correct.
I mean, but again, if obviously they feel there's capacity in Milford for to be bussing people from Kilmacrennan, Churchill and surrounding areas, what is the motivation for centralising services in Milford, I wonder?
Well, that's a $1 million question, Greg. We haven't been told that. And, they said that they have an extra room there. And, but I mean, the cost of busing people in from the hinterland into Milford and taking them back out, that's not cheap. And, we also have to think about winter days whenever the roads are frozen over. The buses won't be able to get up the back roads to collect the people to get them out, whereas their family members would get a four-wheel drive or a Jeep or something and get them into Kilmacrennan or get them into Churchill when they needed to be there. So there's a lot of problems, it's just not straightforward. And what I want to do is to get a strong number of people to come out and support the campaign. I believe that our next move will be to have a public meeting on it, and that we'll get a petition or a delegation then to go and meet with the HSE, looking for these two centres to be reopened again and do the right thing for the people. Did they give
a reason? I mean, obviously it's the Churchill centre that closed during COVID, is that correct?
Correct.
Right, so never waste a crisis. We get that. Kilmacrennan was in the letter that was sent out. I haven't had an opportunity to see it. I know you're not here to speak on behalf of the HSE, but did they give a reason as to why these services were being centralised?
There's no reason given for it at all, Greg. It just tells the service users that their appointments will now be in Milford. It tells them that they need to book a bus on a certain day to go into Milford. It doesn't even give the number for the bus, which is unbelievable.
And it'll be a central pickup point then, presumably. They're not going door to door, so they're asking.
Well, I think what they're saying is that they are going to go door to door. Yeah.
Okay. Right, but your feedback certainly is that people want these services in their local community for good reason.
Across the board, I hadn't spoken to one person that thinks it's a good idea to centralise it. And what we have to realise is that both Churchill and Kilmacrennan, they serve a massive hinterland. You go right down into Glenswilly, Glendowen, back into Trento on the Churchill out to Soccer, basically back to the Clements Junction, and the Kilmacrennan one goes right into Ballyar, out includes Termon, right back out to Elliston. So these are massive hinterlands that these centres are serving. So what we're asking today is as many people as possible to please get out, sign the petitions, and we will try and make use of the petitions whenever we meet with the relevant people looking for these centres to be reopened. Again, I think it's a very, very important issue, and as I say, we're not accepting that these centres are going to be closed. We're not going to be part of the demise of rural Ireland, and I think it's high time that we stood up for ourselves and let the government know loud and clear that we want them open.
Yeah, government might not even know this is happening, but I take your point. You believe it's part of a wider sort of agenda. Okay, you mentioned where these petitions are for people to sign. We've contacted the HSE with a view to getting an actual reason. I think service providers, at the very least, even to say, well, this will be far more convenient because of such and such, or we're doing this for this reason, rather than just saying that's the way it is, like it or lump it, because I know there are people who won't get on that bus, and what happens to them?
That's exactly right, Greg. And to follow up on your point, I sent a letter on the 27th of February, or an email to the HSE, asking them to come back and give me the reasons for it. I haven't heard anything back from them since. But in a funny twist, they did put a statement out on Highland Radio the following day, saying that services were going to continue for these people, but they were going to be in Milford. But it didn't give any reasons for it.
Okay.
It was just a general statement, the same as the letters that the service users got.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't come back to me on it at all.
We'll
I find it a bit strange.
Yeah, well, it's a bit disrespectful, really, too. Okay, listen, thanks very much for your time. That's Councillor Michael McBride there. If you are in the Kilmacrennan and Churchill areas and you received that letter, and you will now have to go to the Primary Care Centre in Milford, let us know what you think, please. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. The people of this country don't trust this government, and now we don't trust Sinn Féin either. That's exactly why this was a no vote. And Leo saying if only his family needed carrying, he would make sure they would get it caring and be depending on the state to provide it. If we all had money he's getting, then none of us would be dependent on the government. And I think, too, the narrowness of the language and the striving, and it was really interesting for Emma to reference, and it comes up in the show so many times with carers, what happens when we pass, what happens to the people we care. I know for people who care, as people get older, the people they care for, the anxiety of that goes through the roof. An amazing outcome on Saturday with an overwhelming no vote in both counts, says a listener. How dare this government try to hoodwink the people? We're not stupid. My partner is a full-time caregiver. The government don't care about the carers, as the carers not even are getting a stamp for staying home 24/7 and caring for their loved ones. The carers are not entitled to a pension unless they have been doing it for 20 years. The stamp was promised to the carers years ago, but still has not materialised. The government don't care about the people, but the people have spoken loudly in their votes on Friday. Another, morning Greg, well done to your caller Michael earlier. He's spot on with his views on politics in Ireland at the minute. None of them are in touch with the people. I've lost faith in all of them. Thank you. A caller says, I went to the Count Centre. We weren't allowed into the Count Centre. We were told that we needed passes from the council. I thought that the public were allowed in. This could be why there wasn't a big turnout at the Count Centre. There wasn't a big turnout from politicians, those that advocated for a yes vote. They weren't, around and they would have been of the knowledge. They would have had the knowledge that they required passes to enter the centre. As it relates to why the public weren't allowed in or how they go about accessing passes, obviously that's in the past now, but those that were advocating for yes, those elected would have known that they would have had to have get a pass from the council, and they weren't there that I saw anyway. There's an interpretation that people who vote no are stupid. We in Donegal could be interpreted as being the stupidest, as we voted no. People think we voted no because we didn't understand what the referendum was. It's because we believe in a no and that we don't understand it. The people of Donegal and this country, we're not outliers. I think we are more critical in our thinking. But my word, this is why on Saturday I wanted to ask the panel this question, and I wanted to bring it up today. This notion that we're stupid or that we don't understand, it's crazy. Did you hear Emma? Does Emma sound like a woman doesn't understand? Did you hear Michael? Does he sound like a gentleman that doesn't understand? Of course not. We know what's going on. We do our research and we vote accordingly. And yes, of course, some people would have used it as a protest vote at the government. That's that is going to happen. But I think for the most part, people voted on what they were asked to vote on. They had a look at the information. They had a look as to how the campaign was run, and they said, "I'm sorry, but it's a no."
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
With a high digital online skills course, you'll feel a real difference.
I can listen to all the music I like. The bus app that's coming out, it's brilliant. Anything you want to know, it's at their fingertips.
They're small things, but they mean something.
Learn essential online skills with simple, accessible lessons at highdigital.ie or free phone 1800 20 30 30. Brought to you by Vodafone Foundation and Alone. Vodafone. Together we can.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,150 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Discover comfort with iHeating and Cooling, your trusted heat pump engineers and Mitsubishi approved service providers in Donegal. We design, install and maintain cutting edge heating systems. Build a lasting relationship with us through annual service and comprehensive after sales support. Contact us for a free consultation on low cost, low carbon heating solutions. Visit iheatingandcooling.ie today.
Kia is now making it easier to go green, offering 0% finance on the all-new Kia Niro. With an impressive 460-kilometre range on a single charge, the Niro ensures you can go the distance without compromise. Visit imotors.ie today and avail of this limited offer.
Creative Landscaping Works are the Donegal distributors of millboard cladding and decking. Thanks to its unique polymer resin construction, this decking and cladding doesn't deteriorate like natural wood and won't be beaten for durability. It also has superb slip resistance even when wet, and every board is produced using recycled materials. Live life outside with millboard at Creative Landscaping Works, Lisnen and Letterkenny. See creativelandscapingworks.com.
Right. Research has been launched by Ulster University in the mental health into the mental health impacts of the defective concrete crisis. Dr. Eileen Doherty is a defective concrete products campaigner, a block campaigner, I suppose you could say. That's being broadened out all the time, and a homeowner as well. Good morning to you, Eileen. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning to you, Greg. Thank you. No problem.
Right. Talk to us about this research and why it's important focusing on this specific area of this crisis.
Sure. This research kind of came about a couple of years ago when myself and Paul Dunlop, who've been involved in research at Ulster University, got together with lots of our colleagues at Ulster to discuss lots of other areas of research that were potentially of interest and would be of value to homeowners on their quest, I suppose, for redress and justice. And one of the departments and schools that came forward was the School of Psychology. So Dr. Karen Kirby is the researcher who's leading this research. And really what it is, it's looking at the mental health impacts and the impacts overall on families of the defective concrete crisis, not just in Donegal, but in Ireland. So kicked off last week. Myself and Paul Dunlop are also co-supervisors on this PhD research project, which has been undertaken by Oisin Keenan at Ulster University. So it's very exciting. We're delighted to launch it. It is really well overdue in the sense that we all know, Greg, that this has had massively negative impacts on families, on individuals within the home, and really just asking anyone who's over the age of 18 to come forward and to fill in our survey.
Yeah, and we do know that, and we know how it's affecting young people. We've heard the stories of, particularly in a show, creative pieces being written by children or poems or essays or what have you often have, defective concrete at its core. It's so ever present in their lives. We can't protect them from that. We also know how negative the impact has been on people's mental health, to the point whereby we also know that people have taken their lives over this crisis. So what does putting that down on paper, by speaking to people, what do we do with the findings of this study? What does it tell us, or what use is it beyond what we already know? And I ask that with absolute respect, by the way, obviously.
No, absolutely. It's a very good question, Greg. I think a lot, if you go back to maybe even if you think about the research work that Paul Dunlop has done over the last few years, we can talk all we want, Greg, and say and give anecdotal evidence to say this is what's happening on the ground, i.e. Paul could have said, I believe this is not a mic issue. He could have said that I believe this is nothing to do with pyrite. But unless you actually have the evidence, it really is not taken seriously at government level. So we need to do as much research as we can in all aspects of this crisis. And we then have a document and multiple research papers that we put out there and disseminate that we actually have the evidence to support all of the things we're saying. I mean, there are not enough supports on the ground, Greg, to support families There's not enough supports in schools to support school children. There's so many areas that this defective concrete crisis is impacting in our society, and it's not been taken seriously at government level. So the research has been undertaken at Ulster University, led by Dr. Karen Kirby and undertaken by Oisín, is incredibly important for us to go back and say, look, you need to take this seriously. We need to have the adequate supports in place. The students who are undertaking exams this must be taken into account, and so on. Many other areas of society. Like Anne Owens, I was speaking to Anne Owens a couple of weeks ago, and Anne, as you know, is at the coalface. She speaks to people on a regular basis about the impact this has on the financial and also their mental health and physical well-being. And she was saying to me that she strongly believes that everybody who is affected by this crisis should be given a medical card. She said the amount of physical and mental health consequences caused by this crisis is really off the scale.
Yeah, okay. I think Karen Kirby can join us now. Dr. Karen Kirby, Senior Lecturer of Psychology at Ulster University, who is the Chief Investigator. Good morning, Karen. Are you there?
I'm here. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. I feel like I should ask you for your votes in the Eurovision, the way you came in there. It's lovely to have you with us. Karen, I was trying to... I have to be very careful with my language here, but this, to me, is like a study that one might do if it's ever done, like after an earthquake or, some other natural disaster. That's the scale we're talking. I can't think of another example in Ireland whereby such a large group of individuals are being polled or surveyed on something that affects so many people. It's really quite fascinating, I think, in that aspect of it.
Well, yes. In fact, the title of the study, would you believe, is called An Earthquake in Slow Motion.
Right, okay.
So just as you have described there, we have tried to capture that, in this study. And I suppose the reason for beginning this study in the first place was to do with the conference that Eileen and Professor Paul Dunlop had invited me to in November 22. And as a psychologist and researcher, I started to get a sense of the kind of potential scale, of the impact, after speaking to some families, at that particular conference and hearing people speak. So then we embarked upon applying for funding because we realised that we needed to do a really robust study on this. And we recognised that whilst there was some smaller scale surveys happening, on the ground, we wanted one that was carried out that would give us a true sense of the impact and the scale that could potentially happen to people. And I suppose we were also kind of recognising when we started to look into the psychological literature, like when you start to dig into this, and you do a literature search, you start to find out that displaced communities can be impacted from a range of issues, anxiety, depression, but even some elements of trauma. So we are not sure about that, and we therefore, when we got the funding for our PhD scholarship, so we have a fantastic PhD researcher, Oisín Keenan, and he's devoting the next 3 years to studying this in depth. And this is Karen, the first phase. I
mean, obviously, there's a solidarity there, right? So there's lots of people affected by this and you're surrounded by them and they get you and they understand that. Will it be interesting to explore whether that can also, with all its positives, be quite negative as well, in that there is no escape for the situation you're in, because even outside of the home, you're still surrounded by it because you can see others also affected by it? Or is that just a fact that doesn't really require any further analysis?
Well, we are kind of trying to explore that too and investigate that because this community, because so many people are impacted by it, the community therefore is impacted in and of itself. So there's nowhere you can turn. So it becomes kind of like a contagion effect, where there's so many people, and it's the daily language, it's the daily conversation of people. That's in parents, mums, dads, and therefore if it's talked about in the home, then it's affecting potentially the children.
And another thing too, Karen, I'd be interested in, and this is the only phrase I can use to describe what I'm talking about, but it's probably inaccurate, but like survivor's guilt, right? So say people that have been able to progress their homes or aren't quite as badly affected, or they've got neighbours who have outhouses that are farms and they're stuck because they've got no supports too. I would imagine that too can have a psychological impact on people. If you're have a pathway out of it, or it feels like that.
Yeah, because there's so many people aware that people cannot get on to the scheme, and there's still so many barriers to getting onto it, or they're in a situation where there's so many different scenarios. People may be on it, but they can't afford to move out, rent a place, or put up some of the money at the beginning so that they can progress with it. So there's certainly people who have come through it who are kind of feeling that sense of helplessness because everybody has to go through it individually. It has to be their own individual application, to get onto the system. So they therefore feel like, well, what can I do to kind of help you? But I think some of the MAG group are trying to support and develop, a new campaign, as it were. But they're also trying to bring that little bit of sense of hope again, people. Maybe this might make things a little bit easier. And that's really what I think that people need. People need a sense of hope that they can overcome, the issues that they're experiencing.
And I suppose to some extent, Eileen, we're asking people to sort of take another thing on with everything else that they've got going on in taking part in this, Eileen. But, I think it's important that this is as broad a study as is possible. You'd encourage people to take part and assure them that, it's strictly confidential and that their information is only it's not shared with anyone outside of the project itself, Eileen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Greg. Yeah, so it's absolutely confidential. The data will be stored, and to be honest, primarily will be analysed by Oisin. So there will be no concerns around that. Yes, it's a very broad study. It looks at everything as Karen has described from within the family unit, but also it includes people like business owners, people who are also affected, who really have no pathway, as you described, out of the scheme, Greg. So it will really look at lots of different types of those affected and look at really just the level of impact this has had on their mental and physical health. I think it's really important to be clear where this survey is online. Probably the easiest place for people to get access to it at the minute is probably going on to the MAG Facebook page. MAG have kindly shared this. It's also on Twitter. Myself, Karen, Paul Dunlop, and whoever, it's on our Twitter feed as well. So we would absolutely encourage as many people as possible to fill this in. More than one person in the home can fill it in. So as long as they're over 18, they can fill it in. And as I say, it's a really important study that we really have a resounding message to send back to government through this scientific research.
And Dr. Kirby, will there be a way for us to sort of get a sense of the impact on children in this? Like, are parents asked, whilst it's over 18s that take part in it, are we as parents able to sort of give an indication as to how it's affecting our children?
Yes, there is an element of the survey where they ask the parents to complete a series of questions that relate to their children. So whilst we're not asking children any direct questions, the parent can complete on behalf of their child in terms of what they have observed. So we're very, very much interested in how our children and young people have been impacted and hear the individual stories, from the parents and families.
Okay, we'll share the link as well. It's quite a long URL, and Eileen, quite right to point out that you're better off go and get the hyperlink from the MAG Facebook page, from Twitter, and as I say, we'll share it on our socials as well. What is the window, Karen, in terms of, it's there now. How long have people got? You're asking them really to dedicate about 30 minutes of their life to this. So yes. When do you close that portal?
We will keep it open we do need thousands of people. We need a large population sample that's true and representative of the community. So therefore we are keeping it open for a couple of months. But we do ask people to give the time to it. It will take about 30 minutes to complete. They're just like a series of multiple choice questions. There's a section where if you want to, type a little bit of your own individual experience, you can do that. But we are trying to keep it open I think we probably have to keep it open until we get the numbers.
Yeah, okay.
And we do need thousands. At the minute, we have 89. And that's with a fair amount of media coverage last week. So we're really asking people if they could, give the 30 minutes to this and complete it. We would really, really appreciate it.
It's not a bad start, but I think, go ahead, Eileen, yeah.
Sorry, I think come in there just say, because Karen has obviously said we will potentially keep it open for a few months. We would like people to fill it in the next couple of weeks, ideally, because obviously, as Karen said, like Oisín's, waiting there to start reviewing this and analysing this data. So, I mean, if people can really prioritise this the next few weeks,
you don't have to be on the scheme. By the way, you don't have to be on the scheme either. This is just, and also I think and I think I'm trying to cast the net as wide as possible. I think it's important too that people share this. That this is not an Inishowen. In case there is that perception there, share it to Glenties, Donegal Town, down the west coast, wherever anyone is affected. So if one person invariably is going to know two people, if they fill it out and share it with two people that are also affected by defective concrete, I think you'll see those figures go up really quite quickly. And we'll be back. We'll discuss it again. We can give it another push down the line if that helps as well. Karen, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well,
no, it's no problem. Dr. Karen Kirby, really nice to have you on the show. And Dr. Eileen Doherty, thank you so much for your time as well. Hopefully there's a big uptake ASAP.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Take care. Back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, man. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
Are you suffering from chronic pain? Letterkenny Medics are now offering specialised pain medicine services. Our expert, Dr. Anil Patel, is now taking appointments for tailored care and comprehensive pain management advice. Discover relief from persistent back and neck pain, post-surgical discomfort, or explore advanced treatments like nerve root blocks and more. Call Letterkenny Medics on 074 9202955 and start your pain-free journey today. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
It's all kicked off at Brian McCormick Sports with new football boots in FG or SG. Try the new Adidas Predator in classic black, red, white. Puma King boots in many options from only $49.99 in adult sizes. Match it up with shorts and socks, gloves and gum shields. Click on bmcsports.ie.
Craving a taste of bliss by the water? Dive into deliciousness at the Water's Edge in Rathmullen. Our coffee and snack bar offers a daily dose of freshness and flavour. From scrumptious light bites to tasty snacks and freshly brewed coffee. Served daily from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And delicious fresh pizza served daily from 12 p.m. Opening Thursday the 14th of March. See you soon at the Water's Edge.
A Highland Radio weather update with Ireland West Airport. Time to book that business trip to London. Fly daily to London Stansted and Luton with Ryanair and London Heathrow with Aer Lingus. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Right, so today misty, mostly cloudy with mist and patches of light rain or drizzle. There'll be a few bright intervals, highest temperatures of 7 to 8 degrees. Be careful parking along the coast, by the way, where it's possible to flood, because there's going to be some high tides and you don't want to have your car damaged. Right, the association that represents rank and file Garda have said there are serious questions to be asked about the operation of disciplinary and suspension procedures in An Garda Síochána. It's in light of the case of a Garda stationed in the Midlands who was suspended for 3 years after he provided an elderly man with an unclaimed bicycle for transport during the pandemic. And what this case highlights for us, because we speak to Brendan O'Connor, the GEA president, quite often. Brendan, this is actually a case that makes a point that you've made a number of times on this programme. It is how long, protracted and tough on members the disciplinary procedures are. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, Brendan, you're not there? No? Okay, we'll leave that. Because we're tight to 11 as well. It's fine. We'll get back to Brendan another day, I think. Come on, Greg, at least mention Cillian Murphy winning an Oscar. We need a good news story. Of course, sorry, that came in at 9:32, and then about 14 minutes later, we were live to Hollywood to get reaction to that. Greg, could you please play a massive thank you to Letterkenny medics, to the brilliant help in my emergency case on Saturday. Their service was totally outstanding. Thanks. That comes in for Anne-Marie in Dunlow. Anne-Marie, hope you're well today after your scare. Hi, Greg. Israeli President Mr. Herzog was at the opening of a Holocaust museum in Amsterdam and talked about the rise of anti-Semitism in the world today and called for the release of hostages taken on October 7th. He and his colleagues have made similar speeches in these past months, but never ever even mentioned in passing the tens of thousands murdered by their army. Speaks volumes of the mortality. OK, let's try Brendan O'Connor again. Are you there, Brendan?
Hello, Greg. How are you?
Good. In the intro there, I was saying that this latest case really highlights what you've been talking to us about for years now, the crazy disciplinary system that operates within An Garda Síochána.
Yeah, I suppose what we've seen now is that the public have actually got an understanding and an insight into the feelings of our members and what the atmosphere that's been created within the organisation. And look, discipline is around a long time, but the overzealous application of it, and I think it's a well-established fact that in recent years there's kind of been a push to say that the organisation got tough on discipline. So and also the policing authority, as recent as last week, chose to say that the application and the use of suspension was a good tool and it was bearing fruit based on some statistical trends. But this is the reality of what harsh discipline and suspension is within a Garda Síochána. It's actually driving a wedge between the community and the Guard and creating an atmosphere of fear. That's something that we have highlighted, but this case crystallises it for the public and makes them understand maybe some of the things that we're talking about.
And it's not just its impact on someone's life, it's actually their life. We know very sadly members have taken their own life whilst in the process of being investigated, and then very sadly being vindicated afterwards. And we've heard from a suspended Garda today who said he was mentally murdered amid a GSOC probe, and he sent a letter to a TD threatening to kill himself. That's the reality of what happens whilst some people are under the investigation of GSOC.
Yes, and look, we have to have oversight and we have to have transparency, and there is individuals who need to be suspended, need to be investigated. But I think the level of the proportionality and the transparency seems to be lacking in the system. So certainly what we saw today, or what has unfolded, in the last week, is a guard who had very honourable intentions, maybe breached the protocol, maybe didn't go about it in exactly the correct manner. But to suspend them for 3 years, to have, detectives that should be investigating serious crime visiting their home with a search warrant, it doesn't make sense to anybody who has a knowledge and understanding of the style of policing and how it's delivered in this country and how most people what would they expect from. And also, it's very important, Greg, to remember at the time was the middle of the pandemic, and guards were being told very much so that their main role was to support communities at this unprecedented time, and doing shopping and getting prescriptions and doing the things that weren't traditionally associated with policing. And then this one guard who carried an act of kindness with no intent to ever do anything wrong found himself in this situation. So a lot of questions to be answered from people in authority that are part of the decision-making process.
Brendan O'Connor, thank you for your time today. We were speaking about the emotional and mental impacts of the defective concrete crisis. This caller says, "This will be our last Christmas in our family home, 4 children, and the mental pressure, both at home life and work, is very hard to deal with on a daily basis. We had our heads in the sand for a long time, but the realisation of what's coming is hitting us really hard now." Right, OK. Well, hopefully, you reach out and get some help where possible to try and navigate this nightmare that you're going through. I'm so sorry about it. OK, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Brendan Devaney is going to be joining us after 11. We're going to run through some of the GAA action. I'll be bluffing it because I never saw a football kicked over the weekend. But anyway, some would say that's what I do. And there's so much more coming up in the last hour. Stay there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Shannon Airport knows precisely what suits a suitcase nicely, so find out concisely at shannonairport.ie.
Affordable parking, easy access, seamless security and dream holiday destinations like Lanzarote, Paris and New York for a hassle-free airport experience for you and your suitcase. Start your dream holiday at shannonairport.ie.
As soon as we mention the following from Aldi, you probably won't be able to concentrate on anything else. So, hope you aren't attending an important interview or high-wire walking. A delicious chicken casserole made with Aldi's Board B quality assured extra large Irish chicken fillet portions was $10.29, now only $6.89. Totally yummy. And one of our Super 6 fresh meat and fish offers this week. Apologies for the distraction. Follow the path to lower prices. Go all Aldi.
Foy & Company, Ballybuffet and Letterkenny are the largest stockists of interior and exterior paint in the Northwest. If you're planning a painting project and need help picking the right colour and brand of paint for your home or commercial premises, call in and ask our qualified paint colour consultants, interior designers and interior stylists. The team at Foy & Company, Ballybuffet and Letterkenny will be delighted to help.
Change is the only constant in business. So whether you're starting or growing your business, our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you every step of the way, because the best businesses never stop beginning. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. We're broadcasting live across the Northwest on air and across the world online. It's time for a news update now, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Minister Charlie McConlogue is facing questions about whether he broke strict guidelines about using public funds to advocate for a yes-yes vote in the weekend's referendum. This morning's Irish Independent reports that a press release from the minister advocating a yes-yes vote last week came from his government department. That would be contrary to the McKenna judgment. It should have come from the Fianna Fáil press office. An advisor told the paper that he had drafted and sent out the release without the minister's knowledge. The government needs to reconnect with the public and reflect on the referendum defeats at the weekend, according to one of its own MEPs. Fine Gael's Colin Markey says the coalition must take collective responsibility. The Midlands Northwest representative says the government must reevaluate ahead of the local and European elections in June. An update on the status of transitional applications has been presented to a meeting of Donegal County Council's Enhanced Defective Concrete Block Grant Committee this morning. Over €21 million has been made in grant payments to date to 129 applicants under both the old and enhanced scheme. A petition's been launched in Kilmacrennan and Churchill to have local health centres reopened. The Churchill Centre closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Kilmacrennan Centre closed recently, with a bus service bringing patients who have appointments to the health centre in Milford. However, Councillor Michael McBride told the 9 till Noon Show this morning that's not acceptable to the local communities there. He says a public meeting will be called shortly and the HSE will be asked to receive a community deputation. A man's been charged over a crash in which two teenagers were killed in County Monaghan last year. The 16 and 17-year-olds were on their way to a school debs when the incident happened near Clonus. A man in his 60s has been charged. He's due before Monaghan District Court today. And there were calls for a meeting to take place to develop a specific and targeted tourism plan for East Donegal. Councillor Patrick McGowan says previous efforts to promote tourism in the area have fallen by the wayside because of a lack of support. Donegal County Council has agreed to an initial meeting with councillors in the Lifford-Stranorlar MD. Councillor McGowan says there needs to be a formal border corridor established. They're the headlines. Back with news in full later, but headlines again at 12 noon.
So how are you all feeling post Adam's family?
Post Adam's family, satisfied and knackered. in equal measure.
Which comes first?
At the moment, the knackered comes. At this stage, as the further away you get, the more the knackered takes over.
It was
to be
a
honest.
huge success for you all, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, and fantastic reports coming back from it. All right, Donald, thanks very much indeed. It is the 9 till noon show. Brendan Devaney's joining us in about... He's looking very smart today. Is this a midlife crisis, Brendan? What's going on?
Things stop working.
I like your glasses. I like your hats. You are the boss, boy. And in a Finn Harps top as well. All right, we'll be chatting...
Freebies. Any freebies going, I'll take them.
We'll be chatting to Brendan just after these.
The Euro Millions Mega Draw on Friday, March 15th is for a guaranteed jackpot of €130 million. Ireland's daydream numbers are through the roof. €130 million? Time to dream big.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. The DL Debate's live for you after 7 o'clock this evening. Its host is Brendan Devaney. He's with us now. Hi, Bren. How are you getting on?
Hi, Greg. Good, my man, you.
Good to have you on the show. What a weekend it was for the AVS. Put that success into context for us. We kind of flagged it last Monday, but it was a mixture of a heartbreak for Sculmore, Buncrana, but we'll focus on the good news from the AVS.
Yeah, huge good. Listen, only third time in history a Donegal side has reached the pinnacle of an All-Ireland title one, and just think of all the great work that's been done in the area at underage, and it's coming through, and the effects that it can have in different teams. And there you have a school team with a dream day out, and a very impressive victory, as they've been all season. There was no doubt in the winners of this competition. Sculmore going down by a single point, which is heartbreak for them, but Abbey won 15-9 points, victors over Ashburn Community School. So huge day, Greg, and something I suppose, with underage, you only have maybe a year, some maybe have 2 at it, but it's a very special time to win a competition because it can only happen in that season quite often. Yeah,
okay, so it's a mixed bag for both, but both did very well indeed. Good victory for Donegal in the hurling at the weekend too.
Yeah, a fantastic victory. Listen, also Roscommon sitting on level points. We were going away from home break, so it was by no means a foregone conclusion. And we controlled the game. And I think Mickey McCann, he's in there today, quoted and not being happy because we were in such control. I think they dropped in deep then. We maybe took the foot off the gas and made it a bit more of a stickier game, but we pulled away in the end again. And St. Patrick's Day now, we have London in the park, who they're just sitting behind us. Derry, of course, who were favourites for the league in a way, Greg, they're sitting top in 7. We're next in 5. London are in 4. So it's a crunch game now with London in the park. So if you're around St. Patrick's Day before the parade in the town, you may call out the hurling, support the boys.
What town?
Letterkenny.
Yeah, exactly. There are other towns, Brendan. Do I have to do this with every person that comes on this programme?
The capital.
You'd fight me on that one. Go on. I'm only messing.
Well, that is.
I love Letter.
It's the only place they play. So
I love Letterkenny, and I'm only joking. Right. So that's looking backwards and forwards, and also 2 interesting conversation. I'm sure. By the way, I should mention Cahir O'Kane of the Irish News and Dara Boner of the Donegal News are going to be 2 of your guests. 2 games to go in the league. Of course, Donegal and Derry still in there. It's going to be interesting to hear you guys' views on how all that's going to play out.
Yeah, I'd just like to go through with the guys, in terms of the 2 squads and the new players that have come on and where they see them at. You had interest in, obviously, the defeat of Dublin recently and what way Mickey Hart's playing it, and there's things happening at club there. There's been rows in the camp and that, and Derry and that. So Cahir can bring us up to speed in that as well. And Dara Boner was at the Abbey victory as well. So be interesting to get his views on that and this new wave of players coming through. And when you think about coaching and success to all these guys, like these things breed potential county footballers. And I suppose if you're from the area or invested in the school, that's great. But from people that are neutral in many ways of just being a Donegal man, you're always looking at these teams of progression, thinking, can there be a top player that springs out of that? So listen, the 2 lads is going to round that up for us. Conor Garland, who's the vice captain there, or joint captain of Donegal, he's coming on as well to talk to us about that Roscommon game. So we'll be patching everything up between the 3 lads of what's going on in Donegal. Always interested, Cahir there gives us a good insight into what's happening in Derry. We're always kind of looking across, Greg, weighing up these dairymen to see what they're going to produce in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really it now, isn't it? It's hard to believe that you mentioned in passing St. Patrick's Day. That's next weekend. There is the league to be sorted and all that, but it's very hard not to sort of be casting an eye forward to the championship. I don't know at what point sort of the management team feel the team are at heading towards the championship in terms of the building process, but you'll talk about that and other stuff this evening. But it is, it feels like we're just on the brink now of the exciting championship times.
Yeah, it's coming very fast, Greg. I'm not too sure of these seasons around the quickness and the turnaround. There used to be this big break between the league and the championship, and now it just seems like it's bang, bang, bang. I mean, if we make the league final, which looking likely we will, it's 3 weeks to Derry. It's all very close in terms of, I guess, teams peaking and getting right and being ready for championship. And as we've spoken before here, the fact if you did happen to win in Ulster, you're going to do a group stage of championship. There just seems like there's never a let up, whereas other teams can kind of peak at a better time to you. So it's a dangerous thing. But as Jim has highlighted in an interview, Greg, he's going all out for Ulster, and him and Mickey Hart, of course, the previous jousting is a backstory to this as well. In terms of Jim and his time and how he targeted Mickey Hart's team then, which was Tyrone, of course, and all that as well. So I'm sure between the two managers, there's a big level of competitiveness as well.
What would you be thinking if you were an active player currently, Brendan, about the games coming so thick and fast? Because I think you're maybe coming at it from looking at it in a more nuanced position now as a former player, and with knowing how management works and analysis and all that. If you're a player, is it like, oh my God, are we at it again, or can the first game in the Ulster Championship not come quick enough?
It's hard to say, Greg. I just wonder about the example maybe of the Glen players more on the Derry side, how they were in the final. They're actually in the Ulster semi-final 2 years ago, so they basically have been going maybe 3 years. All-Ireland club finals, and then they've been playing a lot of games, and I know they did get a small rest there the last day, but I'm just mentally and physically, you wonder then when you get to the end of the season, are you buzzing for the big game? I don't know how you keep that up continually, but players will always tell you they prefer playing to training.
Yeah.
So I suppose if you keep the league at a certain level and keep people progressing, you lift it going into the championship. I'd say just because Ulster's got so competitive now, you just wonder how much that might take out of a team. But no one will ever use that excuse. And it just seems a wee bit condensed now at the minute. I don't know, should the pre-season kind of competitions maybe end? It seems like it's a wee bit condensed now, particularly because of Ulster. If it was in another province, I wouldn't be worried about it at all, particularly if it was in Munster or Leinster. I would be quite happy the way things are. So I guess getting that balance is the one you're always wondering about coming for an Ulster team as a group stage of the championship then kicks,
Yeah, of course, and that's what the modern manager has to all consider as well in terms of what you talked about the league and building to the championship and stuff. Listen, you'll have a great chat with Cahir and Dara and yourself, of course, on the show this evening. Lots to go through. It's live just after the 7 o'clock news and then available as a podcast for you to listen at your leisure if you're training or out walking or whatever it might be. Brendan, as always, thanks so much for your time. Great to have you on the show. Take care, boss. Thank you. Brendan Devaney, DL Debate. Okay, I'll give you a mention here, if you don't mind, to the Community Hero, because there's a lot coming up over March. It's going to be really quite busy. All excited for Friday. Caroline, when is Friday going to be? When are we going to mention what's happening? Is it still a secret? Because, it's literally tomorrow, is it? Right, so Friday we have a big fundraising date celebrating Highland Radio's birthday, and we're hopefully going to be able to give real great financial support to 3 brilliant charities. And Friday's going to be a bit of fun. We've got lots of different voices. I can't say anything since it's going to be launched tomorrow. But anyway, it's just going to be good fun, right? So hopefully you'll be with us for that. But also what we have to wrap up by the 18th of March is our Community Hero Award. Now, it's simple. We're just asking any of you out there, if you want to recognise someone in your community that goes above and beyond, that helps the community, there could be a carer, a volunteer. We've been talking so much about carers, right, over the last weekend and in the weeks in advance of that. We know how important carers are, right? Or a volunteer. How about recognising them? So we're going to, from all of your entries, select 5 community heroes for 2024. Highland Radio's community heroes, 5 of them. And as a token of thanks and recognition of the work, we have €1,000 each for them. Now, you can nominate someone you believe is a hero in your community by emailing their name, address, and the reason why, and your contact details to hero@highlandradio.com, or post your nominations to Highland Radio Mountaintop Letterkenny if you prefer to do that. You don't have to write a big splurge, but you feel free to do so if you wish, but I don't want to discourage anyone who goes, I don't want to write an awful lot of things out. It could be, look, it's Greg because he does this and because he does that, and this is why, that's it, nothing else, right? I'm not suggesting you. Anyway, you know what I mean. Just giving an example. So the closing date for entries is the 18th of March, and you can visit highlandradio.com for more info there. So the more nominations we get, the better. So we really hope already we've had tons of nominations, and we want more. And as Joe Dolan would say, more and more and more. I would like to thank Michael McBride for being the only politician to stand up for the people regarding the closure of the health centres. Where are the other representatives from the Kilmacrennan area? I think he did himself mention that. Donald Kelly had made representations on that as well. The public are never allowed general access to account centre. In Aintu, we applied in advance and were allowed 5 passes. Anyone wishing to attend must apply in advance to the court office. That comes in from Mary T. Sweeney, who is the Aintu rep there. Okay, thank you for that. Good morning, Greg. Given the outcome of the referendums and the fallout from it, the disconnect from all in government is offensive to the people. The mindset of we need to find out where it went wrong shows that in abundance, and unfortunately things won't change given the main opposition parties seem to be of the same mindset. Gary, thank you for that. Another, the government blatantly lied to try and get a yes vote, saying a woman's place is in the home. Wording which is not in the Constitution. They're supposed to work for the people. They are not working for the people. We need to clear out all the politicians and have people in politics who are not so impeded in moral corruption. Senator Lisa Chambers voted no. Why is there no mention of her? We only found out after the fact, and I presume if we'd invited... I can't presume that, but Senator Lisa Chambers could have advocated a no ahead of the referendum. We could have spoke to her there. She's a regular guest on this show. I don't know. She has voted no. Lots of people in the government parties voted no too, I'm sure. Let us hope that the woke rocket has finally run out of fuel and is now falling back to earth. That comes in from Brian. Now is the time to start the no campaign to the euthanasia referendum. Let's show the government we will not be led by the EU. That's very early doors, but I suppose that's why they call it let's start now. The cheek of the government to say that basically we were all stupid who voted no, that the government didn't manage to convince us all to vote their way. They might be better to take note that they were well enough educated to make our own informed decisions now and going forward. Leo Varadkar said on Saturday evening they lost because of misinformation on the no side. That's the planet he's living on. I don't think that's true at all. Listen, if you wanted to highlight elements that tried scare tactics, unfortunately fear is how some people try and influence others. There certainly was an element of the fear factor, i.e. this is what this means and this is what could happen. I don't think that was the loudest voice in the room at all. I think the no arguments that I heard, now I'm not saying the fear arguments weren't accurate, that's not my point, but I thought the no was the concerns that they highlighted were articulated very well and easily backed up as well, because those questions that were being raised were put to people advocating a yes on TV, including Micheál Martin, who struggled to answer what are basic questions, and I think basic questions that people might have when voting. Many people were not well informed. Who told you that? You are on a different planet. Why are the government kept in for 4 years? This is too long. Could they half the time and the government could do their job more efficiently? The average cost for a modular home is €400,000, says listener. This is a prefab. Mica families would be looking for this price too. This is a complete disregard for public finances. A modular home, 400,000. I suppose it depends on its size. You can get a modular home for, remarkably, on Amazon. I saw them for 28 grand. But it's obviously not a forever home when I quote that. Who are the opposition party that we vote for? It won't be Sinn Féin anyway, as they are the new Fianna Fáil. That's what one listener believes. It'll be very interesting to see the next opinion polls. we still have dozens of comments on that issue. I'm working through them because I really value your effort in sending them in to us. Let us take a quick break, though.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP room, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Attention Vodafone customers. Vodafone 3G is switching off to make your 4G and 5G networks faster. So make sure you're ready for when 3G goes by setting up 4G and Wi-Fi calling on your phone to enjoy enhanced coverage. But if there's no option to do this, you may have to upgrade to a newer 4G capable device. Find out more about how to set up or upgrade by calling in-store or search Vodafone 3G switch off. Vodafone, together we can.
This is Anne Doyle with an urgent appeal for UNICEF. As traumatised children in Gaza stare down the barrels of guns, mortars and tanks, another threat looms. Famine is hurtling towards them. UNICEF is rushing food to hungry children in Gaza, but much more is needed. UNICEF will not give up on the children of Gaza, and I urge you not to either. Please visit unicef.ie and help save a child's life today. Thank you.
Highland Radio are celebrating another birthday. We are inviting you to join us for our Highland Radio Birthday Bash on Tuesday the 19th of March in the Mount Errigal Hotel. Joined by the one and only Margot, myself, David James, plus special guests Brendan Quinn, Declan Ernie and Patrick Feeney. This is a night not to be missed. Tickets now on sale. For more information, visit the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll see you at the Highland Radio Birthday Bash.
Now, the president of the Irish Association of Plastic Surgeons has warned of a risk to members of the public and said he is shocked and stunned after viewing undercover footage of the activities of some people working in the beauty industry in Ireland. During a 6-month investigation, RTE Investigates found individuals and businesses handling, selling and prepared to inject Botox-type products illegally. Many used unlicensed products, often imported from South Korea. Dr. Farah Maiden is a GP and aesthetics consultant and joins us on the programme now. Dr. Farah, thank you so much for your time today. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How are you keeping? You're good?
I'm good, yeah.
Excellent.
I'm good.
That's
Just
good.
took an hour out to come out here and have a chat with you guys. Yeah,
Lovely
so thanks
stuff.
for having me.
So when we talk about, the consequences and implications of using unlicensed product, how does that look like? Like, where are we going to get it, and how is that whole sort of area where it's working illegally operating, I wonder?
Yeah, so with Botox is actually a brand of botulinum toxin, and that's what we use for anti-wrinkle injections. Now, since it has been rebranded to Vistabel, so there are other licensed botulinum toxins such as Azelor, etc. But so these are licensed for use in Ireland by dentists or doctors. But you get emails and spam emails and, people selling botulinum toxin from South Korea, from China, and they're often named Botulax. There's lots of different types of it. And all you do is, you click and purchase and you get it to your door. Now, thankfully, the HPRA have been up in their antics and they have been, stopping them at the border. So these get confiscated. But like Greg, you could go online and search up buy Botox online and you'd be able to buy some, maybe get it sent to Newry or the UK, really anywhere across the border and get it collected with no issues. Now, there's a lot of issues with that because botulinum toxin has to be stored at a certain temperature as well, so it has to be regulated, temperature controlled. So if you're going outside of the controlled suppliers, you cannot guarantee the effects of it. So that's where it lies. It is scary how broadly available it is.
And are many people ordering it online and self-administering it?
I would say there would be a lot, like I've been doing this for 10 years now, and when I first started practicing aesthetics, there was a whole rigmarole about trying to get a prescription for it. You'd have to be properly trained, etc., to be able to buy Botox. And Botox is expensive to buy. So if you're paying a premium price, you're likely to be getting the right produce, But quite often there are deals on, as in, you buy 2 areas, you get third free, you get, half price Botox, all these kind of things are out there. And, it's kind of tricking people to believing that there is an offer on. Like treating a certain area of for toxin, say if we're treating your forehead, you need X amount of toxin to treat your forehead. So you cannot actually reduce the price of it for you to have a business out of it, if that makes sense. So by halving the price, you're still using the same amount of Botox. So if you're using the right stuff, you're making zero money. In fact, you're losing money. So that's where it lies. It's like the whole thing about social media, and everyone's kind of going towards this flawless, filtered look and, putting pressure on people to get these anti-aging treatments when there's no need for them necessarily.
Yeah, a lot of what we are seeing is younger people who probably don't actually need these types of treatments. I mean, are they going into some of these less reputable places and being said, you don't need this yet. This is maybe to stay off the signs of aging or to some extent reverse it. But when there's so much money involved and it seems light touch regulation, it's inevitable that people are going to play fast and loose with the rules, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's particularly worse since COVID because everything was shut down. And there are several companies in the UK that would train anybody to inject Botox. And it's a day or 2-day course. And you get a certificate and then they will hook you up with insurance. And I'm not sure where they're getting the suppliers from, and that has to be prescribed as well. So there's a whole big grey area here. And I know I have a couple of people coming to me after getting cheap fillers done from other areas, right? Okay, and they get fillers under the eyes, in their lips, and I can tell you that it is horrific. Having to reverse these products when they've been in someone's body for quite a while. And that kind of causes quite a significant negative impact on this person, and this person that never really needed those treatments in the first place, having to endure all of that time with the complications and getting it reversed as well,
So if it is appropriate and people want to get these types of treatments, be it Botox or fillers or what have you, is there a register of people with the level of qualification and training that you have, for an example? So how could I find you versus someone who's diversifying from hairdressing and has decided to do this also as well, and has sourced the product and done the signage, and is wearing a mask and looks like a doctor, so all's good. Do you know what I mean? So how can the public, people are going to seek this out, right? So there's no point saying don't do it. So how can we be discerning?
So in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, only dentists and doctors are allowed to inject botulinum toxin. So any doctor or dentist are on the register. So I'm on the Irish Medical Council register. So they'd be able to go onto their website, put in my name and see if I'm registered in the Medical Council, and that will confirm that I am. And, you're pretty much in safe hands, whereas so a beautician, for example, like a hairdresser you were saying is diversifying, they wouldn't have said register, so they're not regulated with that. So it's impossible to confirm.
Is it illegal for them to administer this though as well too? Because whilst we talk there being a register there, is there any crackdown on those that are doing it off the register? What are the regulations in that regard?
Yeah, so according to the HPRA, it is illegal for anyone that is not a doctor or a dentist to inject Botox in the Republic of Ireland. They may be okay to inject it in Northern Ireland or the UK, but they're not allowed to do it in the Republic of Ireland. And the HPRA are clamping down a little bit. And I know that, there are certain clinics, the guards have been involved and things like that to help kind of shut it down, to just keep the members of public safe, essentially.
So what are the consequences for this being done wrong then? What kind of impact can it have on the person if, fillers or Botox? I think they're two separate things, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if what are the nightmare cases?
The nightmare case to see, Botox is a temporary product anyway. So generally, the worst that could happen is if you're injecting it into the wrong area, you might have a dropped eyelid, which will resolve itself anyway. And, so you might get displeasing cosmetic outcomes from botulinum toxin. However, fillers have detrimental side effects. So fillers are, they're an excellent product, but they have to be injected by a trained practitioner. Fillers can cause necrosis of the skin, or that means your tissue can die if it blocks a vessel when you inject it. So knowing what the product is it dissolvable, the degree of thickness that it has, because some products aren't as easy to dissolve as others. So there is an antidote that you can get, hyaluronidase, and that can only be injected by a medical professional. So if you're in trouble, you get fillers, you see the alarm signs. First of all, are they able to recognize the early signs of necrosis, or if you're blocked a vessel, that needs to be said as well. Like, you need to be able to identify it before you can treat it. So, and the worst thing with dermal fillers is that if it's injected into the arteries that supply the eyes, that could lead to blindness, and that is a whole different ballgame.
So I listen. I really don't judge people. People can do whatever they want, with themselves. I just hope people stay safe and what have you. So this is not hope. I'm not being nasty in saying this, right? But in terms of fillers, particularly in the lips and up around the eyes and cheekbone area, okay. It's obvious when it seems to me it's obvious when it's been done, right? Is that a reality, or can it be done in a way where it's not so obvious? I mean, you can see it a mile off. A lot of people that have it done. Is that the outcome to expect, or is someone gone OTT?
It's definitely not the outcome that you'd want to expect. People notice fillers when it's done, not quite right. So you're not, you don't want it to be obvious. So fillers, the role of fillers is really to replace loss of volume. Now, for anti-aging, fillers are not the answer all the time, because you do need to have, you need to improve skin quality, your skin health. So there are other skin tightening treatments that should be done before fillers are considered, in my opinion. Otherwise, you need quite a lot of filler to fill in a space to try and tighten the skin, which just doesn't work. So when you overfill someone, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look natural, and it's displeasing to the eye. So it it's not a good look, basically. But yeah, no, you should not notice.
But in a way, I think to some extent the exaggerated fillers has actually become a look in and of itself, right? Because if you watch a lot of Love Island or shows like that, right, it is clear that it's been slightly overdone, if I could put it like that there. And that almost becomes a norm, because then you get regular folk, mostly women, aspire to look like that, but it's not actually a representation of the natural look of a human face, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and that is something that you have to be careful with. And for me, if somebody does not need filler, I just don't treat them. I can educate them, I can explain why I'm not doing it and what they need instead, if anything at all. But no, I just wouldn't treat that. Like the overfilled, exaggerated looks, like you said, is not your normal anatomy. So why change it to suit what social media expectations on it. That's just the way I kind of run my business, and I've always been.
But that works for you too, because that means you get a reputation of you get more footfall because you get the reputation of not pumping stuff into someone for profits, and that works in presumably in the people you say, look, you don't really need this product. That benefits you because it improves your reputation, of course. So it's all very, very fascinating. I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Farah Myden. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye. Take care. Have a lovely day. Dr. Farah Myden. She's a GP and an aesthetics consultant. Any views on that? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Where would I begin with the comments? So many comments coming in on various issues, particularly a big pushback against the suggestion that we voted no, and I want to say we, I don't mean me, I mean we as a county, we as a region voted no, because we didn't really know. People don't like that suggestion. I read that story and can't believe what that poor guard went through for doing a good deed for a member of the public. The stress that poor man and his family were put through is unbelievable indeed. That's the guard that gave the bike to the older gentleman. My dear God, discipline for a Garda who helped an old person, but none for the failings of the handling of the Garda that harassed the whistleblowers. There are so many examples of different approaches in different situations. No one could put a counter argument to that listener's comment there, because any right-minded individual would probably see it the same.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Century Complex is a perfect destination for your family day out this Easter, with lots of options in backstage bar and grill, a selection of movies in Century Cinemas, and don't forget our Easter party in Century Play on Sunday the 31st of March from 10:30am to 12pm for that final hurrah before our extensive renovations begin. Check out our website at centurycinemas.ie.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Pyrex kitchenware is all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price Pyrex kitchenware is gone, it's gone. Also, all wall mirrors and clocks and all garden plant pots are still all half price. But when all the half price wall mirrors and clocks and all the half price garden plant pots are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock. Home Store and More. A happy home.
With everything from pedal and electric ride-ons to go-karts and scooters, there's loads of fun guaranteed all year round at Tinny's Toys in Letterkenny. If you have a kid's birthday coming up, see the great choice at Tinny's Toys to make it extra special. Visit Tinny's Toys on Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online for express delivery at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, with so much more than just farm toys.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome the brilliant Joanna Harkin. Local group The Taylor Trouble will also be joining us, and from Castledearg, we welcome back the Fantastic Lobes. We'll also be playing you some of the very best of new releases from around the Northwest and around the country. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8pm and 10pm, right here on Highland Radio.
Okay, so Hugo on Facebook says the Irish people are beginning to wake up to what's going on in this country. Hugo, the Irish people have always been awake, and they pick and choose. I don't think there's any mass awakening here. I think we as a people are very clever. So some of the issues we've been discussing the fallout from the referendums, but there's been other issues too which have been highlighted. Carmel's going to help us highlight one of them as well. Hi, Carmel.
Hello.
Whilst lots and lots of people came out and voted no, you're saying those that wanted to vote either yes or no were unable to do so, and you've got your own experience of that.
Yes. On Friday, I collected my mother, who's 87, and brought her to her local polling station. And we arrived, and first of all, she had no polling card. And I said, Mommy, they'll not let you vote without a polling card. And she says, of course they will. They just take your name and away you go.
She's right there, yeah.
So I said, well, you better have ID with you. So she collected her ID and off we went. And we went to the polling station, and she give her name, and they couldn't find her on the register. And our polling station happens to have 2 registers for 2 different areas, and she wasn't on either register. And they faffed about, and they thought, oh, I don't understand this. And eventually, telephone calls were made. At this point, I had my mother seated in the polling station. She was greeting all the neighbours. They were calling her by name. They were saying, oh, Bridget, haven't seen you for ages, you know. And between one thing and another, multiple telephone calls were made, and she was told that she had been registered as deceased in 2021.
My word.
So she couldn't vote.
And this is us last week talking to people that seemingly there's no easy way to actually get yourself off the register or get a loved one off the register if they are deceased. So your mother's sitting there healthy and hearty chatting to the neighbours,
Yes.
to be told only that she, according to the register, passed away in 2021.
Yes. And then we were told that it was an administrative error. And I thought, well, that's not an error. That's a decision somebody made. They didn't decide that she had moved to a different area and transferred her vote elsewhere. Somebody had sat somewhere and clicked a button and said, oh, deceased.
What was her reaction?
Well, initially we both laughed, and I said, well, clearly here she is. And we laughed, but eventually it kind of sunk in very... I kind of almost got emotional, thinking, no, this is really weird. This is just not on. So multiple calls were made. We were given a telephone number to contact the county council. When we phoned that number 3 times, it went to voicemail. It was some sort of a voice box or like a mailbox. So we could get no answer there. Eventually, they did speak to somebody, and we were told that a form would be left. It could be posted out, and I said, well, that's no good to us today. Can we collect the form? So we were able to collect a form at Lifford in the county house, and I asked to see the person who left the form down at the front desk. My mother started filling out the form. She said, oh, I have to go to the Garda station now and get this signed. So eventually, the person who left the form at the front desk didn't meet us, but sent someone else in their place. Now, we got an apology. We got a very laughing apology saying it's just a human error, it's an administrative thing. Well, when I said it wasn't an administrative error, like somebody had done this, and they said, well, it's a human error, I'm really sorry. The only thing I can't do, I can apologise, but the only thing I can't do is let you vote today.
Now, your mother, over her 87 years, has seen a lot of change, and she was looking to exercise her constitutional right on what was International Women's Day.
Yes.
You both went to a lot of effort to try and allow her to exercise that right. That can't be undone. She didn't get to have her say on something I imagine was quite important to her.
Exactly. I mean, if it had happened to me, maybe I wouldn't have been as infuriated, but I was absolutely raging on behalf of my mother, because she knows the value of a woman's vote. And I know the value of a woman's vote. Unfortunately, I haven't always voted. I haven't always been registered. But in my mother's case, she would never... We were told initially that she should have checked the e-register. And I thought, no, my mother would not have been capable of checking an e-register. However, there's plenty in our family that could have, but there was no reason for us to believe that she would need to be checked to see would she still be on the register.
Yeah, because she was removed from the register. Exactly. I received polling cards to my house that from I couldn't get them to the people. I don't know who they are. Other people said they didn't receive polling cards and turned up with ID, and like your mum, weren't able to vote. It's a mess, and it comes around every single time there's an election or there is a vote. It exposes the mess of the electoral register, but nothing seems to be ever done to actually fix it. I'm sorry for your mum, and that she didn't get to exercise her right, her hard-fought right as well, particularly in the context of the constitutions. But Carmel, thank you very much for helping us to highlight it out, and pass on my best wishes to your mum if you don't mind.
Thank you. I just hope this doesn't happen to other senior citizens, because they won't have the ability to check e-registers.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. Thanks, Carmel.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye. Now, a caller says, Greg, may I ask, and they ask so politely, may I ask if you might manage to have a short interview with Sister Breege McKenna leading a retreat in Creasler today, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday? Well, we are ahead of the game here, because Sister Breege McKenna will be a guest on the show tomorrow, just after, at the start of the show, effectively, at around about 9:20. So she's going to be in studio with us having a chat. So if you have any questions or comments for Sister Breege McKenna, a popular lady, of course, get them into us now and we'll carry them over. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. Good morning, Greg. I think the people voted to show the government what we are sick of. Them, maybe. Now, Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin will see that at the end of the day, it's the people power. It's not what they want, it's what the people want. Greg, that man says exactly what I'm thinking, and presume this is Michael. No one stands up for ordinary working class people. Another, what's all the fuss about? A low poll. The abortion referendum was passed on a low poll. There was no complaints. Leo should stand down as leader. This cost the taxpayer 22 million. Morning, Greg. The Irish people gave their answer to government with the no vote. It's time now for a general election ASAP. Leo needs to step down. He's failed in his job along with the rest of the other parties. People have had enough of lies and nothing but lies from them. I note too the hotel down the country that was supposed to be, it was announced as dual purpose. It's now been confirmed that it's not dual purpose. That kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. And also, too, this money that was supposed to go to counties that have taken lots of migrants. Do you remember they announced a multi-million euro package to support counties that have taken up in more migrants and refugees than other countries? I wonder, has a penny of that money arrived in Donegal yet, and where did it go? You see, we hear these announcements and it's welcomed and there's press conferences and all that kind of stuff, but where did that money go? Did Donegal get any of it? Who got it? What's it been spent on? If any of you out there know, 086 60 25,000, it's time we write things down and then follow them up. That's what I try and do here. Right, okay. We highlighted, in fact, we broke the story of the blood room at Letterkenny University Hospital. There were appeals for more space. They needed more space to get through tissue and blood samples. They had made suggestions. The management had made suggestions to the management of the hospital how this could be achieved. They made representations to the HSC at meeting level. All those suggestions were rejected. And effectively there was no solution found. This meant that they had to tell GPs and consultants that there's not a guarantee that we'll turn around tests in the same day. If you don't turn around the test in the same day, that means the test then is invalidated because the source material is no longer fit to be tested. Michelle joins us on the programme now. Michelle, this is an example really of a crazy situation, because the management were clear. This isn't about equipment, or this isn't about staff or funding. This is about literal space. And what's your view on this story, and suppose how it sort of feeds into other health stories that we've heard?
I think it's completely unreasonable, it's completely unfair, and everyone is really angry. We've one hospital in Donegal, Letterkenny. Our patients have to go to Galway, Dublin. Everything's going out. Can we not do our own bloods? Because this is going to cause could be mistakes made, when smear tests were outsourced to America. We know what happened. And this was bound to be known before it actually came out, and was there not complete compliance to building more space, when we have the people to do it, it just seems so bad.
Because the HSE says that they are reviewing options to address the workload pressure. But what they're saying in the interim, and this is where the concerns come from, that in the meantime they are going to outsource tests. And as you say, and if you said, well, that was a big problem with the smear test, can we have... I'm not saying we can't have faith in the results of these tests, but there's enough there that people are going to be concerned, because no one wants a false negative on a cancer diagnosis, for an example, or as part of their treatment.
Yeah, like, I mean, we have cancer patients here. The patients already have to go away. Why does their bloods have to go away? Like, it should not even be an option. Everything should be put in place for us to have it in Letterkenny. No, like, I mean, it's going to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just about floor space. Hello? Like, you know, it just seems unacceptable because bloods have to be done straight away. So, you know, Greg, the cost of outsourcing, the 24 hours that's available sometimes for some bloods for diagnosis, not immediate diagnosis, bloods have to be wrote down again. Like, the hassle and the cost of it, can that not outweigh?
Yeah, Michelle, you talked about the cancer side of it too. Like, I've spoken to people off air who have certain aspects of their blood monitored, you know, to determine whether or not they need to go on for further treatment, or if things are in abeyance, if you know what I mean. I'm not phrasing that correctly, but there then becomes a distrust of that information. So if you're told your such and such levels are okay, can you be fully confident that that's the case, you know, when it could put another 3 or 4 months, it could delay, you know what I mean? Like, you can see why the distrust is there. It's the problems, Michelle.
Yeah, like, I mean, if this is let happen, like, you know, what's the point in having a hospital, having a lab? You know, at the moment, we have to stand up for patients that already have to travel. So now they could get, you know, our bloods can't be done here, like our own bloods from our own county.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it just needs total,
right.
like, yeah.
Okay, Michelle, listen, great points well made. Thank you for your time and me struggling to articulate. I'm trying to be careful with the language in that, not to identify anyone or anything, but the point being is that, you know, with the concerns over the turnaround times, not being able to get through them all, and now outsourcing, there are some people now that are wondering, is the good results, say for an example, they got back the right results, and conversely, if they got bad results, are they the right results? You know yourself, when there's uncertainty, especially in matters of health, it's very, very difficult for the patient. All right, more comments and content coming up for you after this break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photos. Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
When it's time for confirmation or first communion, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top label, casual and formal wear. Suits with matching shirts and ties, blazers and jackets. Also denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, 1880 Club and Tommy Bow. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and watsonmenswear.com.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
For new perspectives and a fresh vision, join me, Greg Hughes, on the 9 till noon show every Thursday at 10:15 for your voice, your community.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Time to book the family summer holiday. Fly to Barcelona, Faro, Milan, Majorca and much more for a perfect family getaway. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, there's going to be quite a bit of rain around this week, but sure, look, it's not always the way it is. Hopefully the weather's about to turn. But anyway, all I can talk about with any confidence, and it's not a massive amount of confidence, is today's weather. Mostly cloudy with mist and drizzle of light rain or drizzle. There'll be a few brighter intervals. Highest temperatures today 7 or 8 degrees with light southerly or variable winds. Coastal flooding is possible due to unusually high tides. The caller says, I had to get my name removed from the register as I was getting jury letters to attend court. This upset me as I suffer from mental illness. I didn't want to give up my right to vote, but I had no choice. She didn't need to remove her name, by the way. There are other ways of doing it, but this person thought that the best way to stop getting jury letters, which I've never received one, was to have her name removed from the electoral register. Okay. John is with us now. Hi, John. Hello, John. Can you hear me? We're talking about taxi drivers, John. Are you there? No, that line is going to have to be reconnected, folks. The number's there, Shannon, if you need to grab that. Morning, Greg. The Irish people gave their answer to government with the no vote. It's time now for a general election, says another listener. Sinn Féin's support off and inaction in this referendum has cost them the general election, believes a listener. NWCI women said, etc., are overfunded and do not represent women, but they do represent the woke radical feminists who believe most men are abusers and that women are superior and not equal to men. They are so extreme that they support male abusers who use parental alienation against children and mothers and grandmothers by ignoring this abuse because more men are affected by it. They also support the rights of men over women to identify as a woman, so as to abuse the right status and respect for women in Ireland. But women have different views on those issues, but I take your point. Hi, John, you there now?
Yeah, John here speaking, yeah.
Yes, John, right now. You're calling out at least one or two taxi drivers that you've observed. What's going on?
Two taxi drivers I observed. One about 5 months ago. It happened outside the Japan Donegal. I was turning right to head on for, as we call it, across by the bus area there, you know. Yep. And there's 2 or 3 spaces you have to wait till you get up to get onto the one to turn right. And there was 3 or 4 cars in front of me, and no, I didn't get turning on. And there was a taxi about 3 or 4 cars behind me, and just swerved out and passed us. When I was ready to cut in, they just more or less nosed me off the road.
Wow! So he cut up the inside to turn right himself.
Yeah, and it was at least 4 or 5 cars too soon.
Right.
Because there was a space if you want to turn onto the right to go onto the Chapel car park. Mm-hmm. That happened to me about 5 or 6 months ago. And last night, I was taking my mother-in-law up to bingo at Jackson's Hotel in Barbafay around about 7:30 or 28, and around that time of night. And I approached McKay's corner, and the light was red, and there was 3 or 4 cars in front of me.
Yeah.
And I waited till the lights turned green, and there was a taxi on the left-hand side of me. Should have been dropped off a passenger or whatever you want to call him, left it, and I seen him getting out of the taxi, and the taxi, as soon as he got up as far as the lights, just cut straight on in front of me and headed for Barbafay, which should have been going to call it down by St. Joseph's.
From the left lane, he cut across. So what did you do? Did you challenge the driver? Did you ring the taxi company? Which we won't mention at this point, if that's okay, John.
I blew the horn. I held my hand on the horn for about a couple of seconds. I stuck on the hazard lights. I drove down as far as we call John Doe's Cafe with the hazard lights on, and I followed them over the town. And he cut in, he turned in, I parked up in front of Cheers Pub in Barbafay. And I got out because the blood was boiling in me.
Right.
And I went up and opened it. There was 2 passengers got into the vehicle. And I went up and I opened the door, and I says, what? So-and-so were you at McClay's corner?
Mm-hmm.
I says, why? I says, absolutely, 100% you done on the wrong. You cut across the inside lane in front of me, and you headed over the town. And he sort of laughed at me. Mm. And I says, they cared about accidents on the road. A man should have been going left, cut straight in front of me on the right-hand side and headed over the town. what were you at? He says, we have a company to run. And started to laugh at me, and so they drove off.
Wow,
and me trying to speak to him on the passenger door.
Okay, so you not got no satisfaction there.
No. And I phoned up I got the number off a taxi off the back of the taxi book, and I actually got the number plate. And I phoned up a taxi crowd last night, and obviously the office was closed because it was 7:30 or and around 28 time of night. And I phoned this morning there again, and I got a worker, and he says, all we can do is, he says, I'll report it to my boss man, and he says, I'll ring you back in an hour. So
well, at least they heard you. All right. Well, listen, let us know what happens with the callback, John. I appreciate your time today. Is that something you've experienced out there? 08660 25,000. Right, that's where we have to leave it on today's 9 till noon show. Thank you so much to all of you who listened to the show, who watched the programme, who messaged, texted in, called in. We still have a couple of dozen of comments that I just literally haven't had the time to get to as of yet. We'll return to some of them tomorrow, of course. Have a great Monday, everyone.